to generation. Nobody scrutinizes performance like you do. And acre to acre, year to year, generation to generation. The consistent performance of Asgrow brand soybeans helps to keep your profitability out in front. Offering a suite of tailored integrated solutions and 100% exclusive genetics for strong yield potential. Plus the Roundup Ready Extend crop system, the #1 soybean system planted by farmers, featuring XtendiMax herbicide with vapor grip technology to control more weeds than any other soybean system, so you can spray your fields with confidence. Ask your dealer how much further you can grow when Asgrow leads the way. XtendiMax herbicide with vapor grip technology is a restricted use pesticide. Always read and follow IRM where applicable, grain marketing, and all other stewardship practices and pesticide label directions. Check with your state pesticide regulatory agency for specific restrictions in your state.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 2:37, first of all, in the weather. Sunny with a high of 90. Do you believe it's going to be 90 degrees? It's 88 right now. Overnight showers and thunderstorms. Some of the storms could produce heavy rain. Tomorrow, heavy rain most of the morning into the early afternoon. Our high tomorrow will be 72. On Wednesday, more rain. Some of the storms, again, could produce heavy rain. On Thursday, sunny with a high only of 58. Friday, sunny with a high of 60. Saturday, a little bit of rain. Otherwise, it'll be sunny with a high of 62 on Saturday. And Sunday, it'll be sunny with a high of 61 degrees. Right now, 88 degrees. But I hope this could be the last day where we say 88 degrees for this year, because I'm really not into this hot, humid weather, I'll tell you. I'm just not a southerner. Anyway, obituaries this hour brought to us by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Rudy Engstrom of Lake City has died at the age of 95. Mr. Engstrom passed away Saturday at Stewart Memorial Hospital. Funeral services for Mr. Rudy Engstrom will be held at 10:30 in the morning Thursday at Pilgrim Lutheran Church, Lake City. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. 239, 88 degrees, AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Staples is more than a place you go to make copies.
It's where a conversation with an associate sparked the idea for my business card to double as a coupon. And it's where I go to reach potential customers with custom postcards.
Staples can help make your big ideas bigger ideas. And right now, when you make a select print and marketing services purchase, you receive 20% off your next order. Staples, for your business printing and beyond. In-store only, ends 11/9/19. Exclusions apply. See staples.com/print20 for details.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then go to Babbel.com, download the app, and try it for free. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just go to Babbel.com and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or go to Babbel.com and try it for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
Yeah, it's too hot for me. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Of course, give me a couple of months, I'll be complaining it's too damn cold. All right, I want to welcome to the program for the very first time. Here is Caress Bjorklund. How are you, Caress?
Good, and thank you for having me. I'm very honored.
Well, there's no need to be honored. I let practically anybody come on here, but I am especially happy to meet you today because I know you're involved in very important work. And
Yes.
Your work is what?
My work is the community of Fort Dodge.
Mm-hmm.
I have a burden. I'm born and raised here.
That's your burden?
Yes, my burden is my community. Being that I am born and raised in this town, and being that I have my morals, my family values have all been enrooted in this town as a woman. And my grandma was the number one person in my life who inspired me to be who I am today through the faith of God. And through her, I learned to have purpose in my community by God using me as a vessel to help and serve the community with women who are like me.
Now, I want you to explain something to me here real quick. Does your ministry, if I can call it that, have a name, a title?
My ministry, I am part of the Pentecostals. My ministry, I feel, isn't specifically for just women. I feel like my ministry is my Fort Dodge community, whether that be men, women, homeless, drug addicts, people from anywhere, any walk of life. I am at service, whether that be helping them with rides, whether that be helping them with food essentials, toiletries, any way that I can be a moral support. That's kind of how I feel a ministry should be, but just being a support of what I know in the community. There's just a fine line in the community now with different parts of the neighborhood, of lots of neighborhoods around that some people are afraid, and you got a lot of things in the paper that become negative, but I believe in my city. Fort Dodge is my heart. I think it's a compassionate town. I think that it has good roots of ancestry. And I feel like there's hope here. I think there's so much potential in the Fort Dodge community. And if we can get a hold of some unity for the newer generations, then I think that would be good for the future of Fort Dodge. I decided to do a women empowerment gathering just to have some support from women. I just wanted to find something that related to who I am. And so it inspired me to do this gathering. There would be guest speakers. Colleen Peace is one of...
Now what are you talking? You're talking about a gathering now.
Yep,
right?
It's a women empowerment gathering in town that inspired me to do it because I am a woman. I think women need
I
to
noticed
be
that about you right away.
Women need
I didn't
to
think
be...
you were a man at all.
Well, thank you.
That's quite all right.
I think all of us women have something we can relate to, and I feel like I have a teenage daughter also, and being able to have a teenage daughter, I have to be an example and lead by example, and I feel there should be a lot of other women that are like me, and I just want to bring some unity and diversity of different ethnicities and different sides of life, different walks of life. And
so this
together,
is Women's Empowerment Conference or get-together, or what do you call it?
I would call it a gathering because we're gathering at the Crossroads Mall.
All right.
October 5th.
October 5th.
From 5 to 8.
All right.
The dress code is formal. It is going to be nice, pretty, diva-like, because that's my attitude. Something for women to have something positive and productive to have in this community. And
the 5th is this Saturday.
Yes, it is this Saturday. Like I said, at the Crossroads Mall.
What time?
From 5 to 8 p.m.
All right.
There will be food, fellowship. There will also be guest speakers. Some of them will be testimonial. Some of them will be in form of a speech. Some of them would be a sit-down discussion, like a more intimate discussion. I'm very excited because there's some people in town who are up-and-coming people who want to have businesses, and they have booths there to network with other women who have businesses and get words of advice and encouragements to have them prosper if they ever do decide to have a business or go that route. I think it's really cool. It's networking, and I feel like that's still part of who I am in my ministry, but I'm excited for it.
So Crossroads Mall, 5 o'clock this Saturday.
Yes.
And this is a women's gathering.
Yes. Teen, and it's teens also. It's teen ladies and women.
So you don't want no old dudes coming in, huh?
Not unless you're going to serve some food or escort, but...
I was thinking about coming to eat some food. You mentioned food, so you drew me like a fly. Just zoom.
I think the ladies deserve this.
The ladies,
And
this is
women.
going to be women only, huh?
Yes,
Ladies,
teen,
women.
Yep, and teen ladies.
Teens.
Yep.
Okay, who's do you have a main speaker or?
They have a couple guest speakers. As you know, because she got a hold of you. Colleen Peace is one of them.
And she's with
The Wellness Project.
Wellness Project. Right.
Fort Dodge, and we also have Angela Hair and More Beauty Supplies down the street here on what is it, North 12th? Is it North 12th?
This is North 10th. We're going.
Yep,
going
it's
by
North
the
12th.
ball field here.
Yep, North 12th. For the beauty supplies owner, she will be there as a guest speaker. We also have my co-host, who is Marissa Hamilton, who owns the store at the Crossroads Mall where this would be hosted. She owns the Artist's Warehouse. We kind of came up with, we met after this was a vision for me about a year ago. I called her recently and we came up with this vision together, and I'm happy that she was so aboard and the Fort Dodge community been so supportive of all these things that are happening. I'm excited for more to come in the community. There's so much potential here. I can't say it enough. There's so many younger generations, older generations. I know where I came, and I love who I am, and I think everyone should embrace who they are as women, whether that be flaws, whether that be shame, whether that be insecurities. I just want women to understand that they're not alone in some of the things they done dealt with, whether that be domestic violence or anything, growing up with different traumatic circumstances in their life. I think that we all can relate to some. If not, we know someone who has, been through a lot. And I'm one of those. And I use who I am as a testimony to any way that I can better someone, because when I was growing up, that's what I wanted. I needed someone who can mentor me, someone that would spend the time to get to know who I am. But
did you have a mentor?
No, I did not. I had my grandma. And, the age range was different, but she showed me enough to know the resources I need to better myself. And I used the struggles in my lifestyle to make me who I am today by accepting the failures and fixing the mistakes and, learning from my mistakes pretty much. And I think other women need to have someone in their life, or even anyone in their life needs someone who will spend the time. The time is everything to me.
I can't imagine talking to you this short time that your mistakes were that serious.
Exactly. So there's hope. If I made it to college and everything else and tried 4 different majors
Where'd
in
you
college.
go to school?
I went to Iowa Central here. I did human services here first in Iowa Central. Then I transferred to Hawkeye Community College in Waterloo and studied criminal justice and interior design art, because I love art and that's part of who I am. I'm creative. I used those and worked here at the domestic shelter for a little bit and for AmeriCorps, but yeah, that's a lot of experience. I use my dysfunctions and study them in order to understand things. But
you're too hard on yourself. Your dysfunction.
Yes, the dysfunctions of life.
Oh, well, that's the way life is.
And I also was a teen parent. That's kind of my burden for teens. I have a teen daughter, and I don't want our generations to continue with the same patterns. I want to be an example for her, and I want her to see awesome examples in my community that I love, and I'm there to help.
Yeah.
It's time for this community in the future to be uplifted, because I think there's so much love here and compassion. It's
in
time.
Fort Dodge?
Yes, it is. And some people are just so negative in different ways, but I honestly believe this town, you can be anything you possibly want to in this town, because we have the resources here. The love is here. And it's all about how you take life. But one thing I know is that there is potential, because I am one of them. I am one of the ones who I feel have made it in this town. And I will always serve my town because I believe in it. It's a small, loving town.
Yeah, I always thought so. I never thought it was loving necessarily, but it's a good, solid town. I'm an immigrant, legal immigrant to Fort Dodge.
Well,
but I was, I've been here most of my adult life, if not all of my adult life now. Pretty close to all my adult life. And Fort Dodge is a good town. Very
yeah,
solid town.
both sides of my grandparents.
I do.
You know some of my relatives?
Well, yeah, I know. Yes, I do. Yeah, I know several of your relatives.
Even my mother and my dad, like, this is love.
Yeah.
What made you stay here?
I don't know now. I think
Now you see.
See, I think it was, and I moved away and worked in other states, but I always came back to Fort Dodge.
See,
I came back to Fort Dodge. It just got to be home to me, that's all.
Yeah.
It just started to be home to me. That's all, and it still is.
Yep.
And I had an offer for a job in another town.
Wow.
In Iowa just last week, and I turned it down.
Good job.
Yeah, it was a good job. It would have been a good job.
Wow.
It would have been a good job, but my age plays a factor. But I don't want to make this about me. I beg your pardon, but yeah, it's a good town.
It ain't about you. It's just Fort Dodge. It's nice to hear positive things about Fort Dodge, and you turned down a job offer just because.
Yeah, that's right.
And you came back. I come back too. That's the perfect. I think it's a good example to have to say, you still come back. There has to be something here for us to come back to.
So did we figure out a name for this event this Saturday?
It is, the theme of this event is I Am Beautiful, period.
I am beautiful, period. Well, I should come then.
Well, you are beautiful. If you're going to be a help, like I said, you're more than welcome to help. But I was
just coming because I was beautiful.
I am beautiful, period. That means period means no N, F's, ups, about it, nothing. It just means period is done. That means you're beautiful no matter what and no matter who you are.
No, it's I'm just kidding around. That sounds like a fine thing. And what do you hope comes out of this?
I hope, my goal when I do a lot of different things with in the community and the things I do with ministry, and when I plan for things, I plan if one person shows up, that's love to me. If someone comes and feel uplifted and motivated, that makes me happy. That's a goal of mine, and I believe that there are lots of women out here that can receive mentorship and friendships that they probably would never ever in life ever think. But I think this event is made for the differences and understanding differences. And I hope in this event that someone is encouraged and uplifted. And I hope the teens who do come to this event understand that they are our future, and it's our job to be an examples to them to help them be successful for our Fort Dodge community.
Is this mainly for younger women?
It's for the teenage. That means 13 all the way up. So we have all the way up. You can be 90, 100, or whatever, but long as you're a woman and you're a teen and you're 13 all the way up, anybody could come, long as they're a woman. For that age. No, I think that it's better to have it that way, because sometimes now with the world being the way that it is, these younger teens need to prepare, and there's some things they might need to hear.
Is there a phone number, a website, Facebook page?
There is a Facebook page of this. It is actually an event on there, and it's the Teen and Ladies Empowerment Gathering, I Am Beautiful, period. And it's on the events for Fort Dodge. It also was in the paper yesterday, and there's flyers around town. The tickets for it is for $5 at Angela's Hair and More Beauty Supplies, the Fort Dodge Wellness Project, and also at the Artist's Warehouse. But if we get to the point to where some people come from out of town or anywhere and they're not able to get the tickets, we just want people to show up. It's not about buying tickets. It's about being able to be embraced and encouraged. So if you don't got a ticket now, that's okay. Just show up and you still will be able to come. It's not about buying a ticket and not having it. Just show up to be encouraged.
Chris Bjorklund, thanks for being here. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 2:55.
Some conventional farmers are managing weeds like organic farmers to build soil health. Hello, I'm Larry Lee with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. Sandy Seiberg of Purple Cow Organics says he's seen more interest from conventional farmers in water-soluble calcium to reduce chemical use and trips across the field. We'll hear from him next on Managing for Profit.
They say to really know a man, you have to walk a mile in his boots. Well, my channel Seedsman has logged more miles than I can count in mine. Every spring, we hit my fields together at the first sight of green. 6 weeks later, he's out here again, checking roots, stalks, soil like they were his own. As crops grow, so does his commitment to making sure there's nothing overlooked. Nutrients, weed control, pests, disease. He gets an agronomist to weigh in whenever we need a second opinion. The whole time using the latest technology to document where we've been and decide where we're going. Wheels always turning. And come harvest, we celebrate in the cab. Him working away, making plans for next season. That, my friends, is what they call seedsmanship at work. Look, anybody can sell you seed. Only a Channel Seedsman gives you everything you need to make the most of it. Find yours at channel.com/boots. Always read and follow grain marketing and all of their stewardship practices and pesticide label directions.
Sandy Seiberg of Purple Cow Organics says more conventional farmers are joining organic farmers in managing weeds.
There's also a portion of that product that is more slow release calcium. So I'm building my calcium reserves for future crops. Calcium is an integral part in the cell structure of plants and those animals that eat plants. So, higher calcium increases density of yields. Calcium is referred to by many as the trucker of other nutrients. So it is going to bring along other macro and micronutrients in the process. You want to apply it on the surface of the soil and try and keep it in that upper 2 inches, which is where weed seeds are most prone to germinate. Don't incorporate it, don't get it down deep in the soil, and dilute it with soil and reduce its efficacy. So if in all of that, you're trying to compare the cost of a calcium application purely from its weed management aspects and compare it to, say, a pass with a field cultivator or a herbicide application, it's really not a fair comparison. But I think ultimately, overall, in the full scope of things, looking at soil health, improving soil health, improving water infiltration, improving air porosity, which are all things that help us reduce weed pressures, and whether we're managing those weeds mechanically or chemically, it should benefit everybody.
Seiberg says it's not uncommon to apply 500 pounds of calcium per acre. One drawback, Seiberg says it doesn't do a lot to stop giant ragweed. I'm Larry Lee with Managing for Profit on Brownfield.
Sorry, sleeping at the switch here. All right. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The news is next. You're listening to AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Thank you.
This is Gary Rima, the voice of the UNI Panthers, and you can listen to exciting Panther sports right here on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
A new subpoena in the impeachment inquiry. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. We've just learned that President Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, has been subpoenaed now by the House Intelligence Committee for documents related to the phone call with Ukraine's president when a whistleblower says President Trump solicited interference in the 2020 election by asking Ukraine to investigate Democratic candidate Joe Biden and his son. The president says he just wanted the Ukrainian leader's help to drain the swamp.
No corruption. That's how he got elected. And I believe that he really means it. But there was a lot of corruption having to do with the 2016 election against us. And we want to get to the bottom of it, and it's very important that we do.
The president speaking to reporters just after a swearing in today for his new labor secretary, Eugene Scalia, son of the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. House Democrats say the president has violated his oath of office. Meantime, the House Intelligence Committee chair says an agreement's been reached to have the whistleblower testify, though a lawyer for that person has expressed safety concerns. New York City police just confirming that an officer shot over the weekend during a struggle was not killed by the suspect. Fox's Gernal Scott has this live.
Lisa, NYPD officer Brian Mulkeen, who died in a struggle with an armed man, was killed by friendly fire. Police Commissioner James O'Neill says Mulkeen, in that struggle, fired 5 shots from his gun, but
Officer Mulkeen's partners fired 10 rounds, and 2 of those rounds struck Officer Mulkeen.
He was wearing a bulletproof vest that night. The suspect in the case, Antonio Williams, also was killed. O'Neill says there is more investigating to do, including looking at police body cams. This is the second NYPD officer this year killed on duty by friendly fire, Lisa.
Thanks, Colonel. Wall Street rallied. The Dow up about 96 points at the closing bell. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. I've got great news. Mortgage interest rates have dropped. So if you're thinking about buying a home, right now is the time to lock that low rate, even before you find the home of your dreams. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
All 4 prisoners who escaped from an Ohio jail over the weekend are back in custody, captured in a different state.
The Gallia County Sheriff's Office confirms a 4th suspect, Lawrence Lee, was taken into custody in Durham, North Carolina, hours after 3 other inmates, Christopher Clemente, Bryn Martin, and Troy McDaniel Jr., were captured miles away in Cary, North Carolina, following the inmates' escape from the Gallia County Jail Sunday after overtaking 2 female corrections officers.
Our detectives have established that the inmates had the assistance in escaping from at least 1 individual on the outside.
Sheriff Matt Champlin, no word on why the inmates chose North Carolina. The process to extradite them back to Ohio is now underway. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
A congressman accused of insider trading is now set to plead guilty. So ahead of that court hearing tomorrow, Chris Collins is resigning. The New York Republican is in his 3rd term. Collins is accused of leaking confidential information about a biopharmaceutical company to 2 people, including his son, who also has a hearing scheduled, but on Thursday. Confirmation from the Pentagon about another drone strike in Libya.
The U.S. military says it launched a drone strike in southern Libya, killing 7 ISIS fighters. It's the 4th strike in the past 10 days, according to the U.S. Africa Command. The strikes were the first conducted by U.S. forces in Libya this year. In 2016, nearly 500 airstrikes were launched in the coastal city of Sirte. Libya's prime minister recently told Fox News he needs more U.S. support against terrorist groups. At the Pentagon, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Recapping Wall Street, during the session there was a rally in the triple digits at times, but the Dow finishes up about 97 points as the numbers continue to settle. The S&P and the NASDAQ also higher. The NASDAQ ending just shy of 8,000. Lisa Brady, this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The Fort Dodge Community School District has released an update regarding the online threat posted on Indeed over the weekend. The district's Director of Communications and Community Relations, Jennifer Lane, said that the district was taking the threat seriously, as they take any and all threats seriously, and have implemented increased precautionary measures, such as having resource officers increase their patrols and coordinating with local police to increase their presence and patrols in the school areas. In a statement released earlier today, the district said that the Fort Dodge Police Department does not believe that the threat is credible and is still investigating the matter. Fort Dodge Fire Rescue will be having their Red Line Run this Sunday, October 6th at Kennedy Park. The event is in honor of Kelvin Brown, who passed away due to cancer. Fort Dodge firefighter Megan Spears is one of the organizers of the event. Here's her comments on the legacy of Kelvin Brown.
We just really wanted to honor somebody so small but had so much impact on so many people.
The event will be a 5K run and walk. It will begin at 1 p.m. Sunday at Kennedy Park. The entry fee is $25 and will include lunch. You can register the day of the event between 11:30 and 12:45, or you can pre-register by emailing Megan Spears at mspears@fortdodgeiowa.org. The Artist Warehouse, located at the Crossroads Mall here in Fort Dodge, will be hosting their inaugural Teen Ladies and Women Empowerment Gathering this Saturday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The purpose of the event is to inspire culture and diversity for women in the area. The event will feature guest speakers who are local businesswomen here in Fort Dodge, along with vocal performances and poetry reading. Formal attire is the dress code, and there will be food and dessert. Tickets are $5 and can be purchased at Artist Warehouse and the Wellness Project Fort Dodge. In sports, the Iowa Central Tritons fell at Highland in Kansas over the weekend, 20-14. Highland would score twice in the first quarter, taking a 14-0 lead. The Tritons would score in the second quarter on a Kurt Taylor touchdown run of 75 yards. Taylor would finish with 215 rushing yards on 33 carries and a touchdown. Iowa Central would then tie the game at 14 with under 5 minutes left, but Highland would answer, scoring the go-ahead touchdown on a 42-yard touchdown pass with 2 minutes left, and would hold on to win it 20-14. Iowa Central will be back in action this Saturday, their homecoming game, hosting Garden City for a noon kickoff. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Mainly sunny skies and calm this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 87. Winds out of the south, 20 to 25 miles per hour. Scattered thunderstorms likely. Tonight, lows level off around 64. Cloudy skies expected. Overcast skies. Tomorrow, scattered thunderstorms likely. High temperatures reach up to 72. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 88.
Blue Ribbon, Pelham Waters, your water pro since 1949.
Do you have questions about your water? What is a whole home filter? Is my softener working or not? Can I get rid of that red stain around the sink? I'm Brian with Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters. We're here to fix problem water. We'll work with you to find the right solution for you. We've been serving the Fort Dodge area since 1949. Let us serve your water treatment needs. Sales, service, rentals. Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters, your complete water store.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
That's right. We've got 60 rounds of freedom at all times here at AM 1400 KVFD. Well, you need 60 rounds of freedom more and more all the time. Joining me now is Dr. Lee Heeb, who is an orthopedic surgeon down in beautiful downtown Logan. What's going on there,
Not
Lee?
really here. Not really here.
Where are you at today? Are you in Omaha or?
No, actually, I am in Logan, but I'm usually in Omaha. Or
okay. What hospital do you work out of in Omaha?
I actually have my own little practice out there, and I just do a part-time stuff, and then I do orthopedics in Ottawa.
Okay, all right. Dr. Lee Heeb is a libertarian, and she's run for governor in the past. She's been a contributor to this program for quite a long time. So it's always great to talk with a rationalist, let me put it that way, which is what most libertarians are, in my mind, anyway. We need to talk impeachment because the Democrats finally got their wish, or the younger Democrats finally got their wish. They had to drag Nancy Pelosi kicking and screaming to impeachment because Pelosi really knows what this means, and what it means is Donald Trump will probably be reelected.
I think that's exactly right. But I mean, I guess the first thing to say here, let's at least read Article 2, Section 4, the standards for impeachment. The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. I mean, the idea of the framers of the Constitution was this was not to be a politicized issue. This was supposed to be for the most egregious times in which, basically, as John Jay, one of the early Chief Justices, said, that the people he's discussing betray the interests of their country. And I think that's really, you got to ask yourself, what is it here that they were willing to, so what is the actual charge? What is the actual concern that they're going to impeach him for? I mean,
well, the actual charge is he has hurt the Democrats' feelings. He has violated the boundaries of what they consider good behavior, and they feel really bad about that, so we got to impeach him. That's the real reason.
I think Robert Barnes the other day, who's a constitutional lawyer, said the really reason they want to impeach him, they want to impeach him for something that Biden is guilty of, and it's witnessed on television.
Yeah, there you go.
That's really the case. I mean, I would say that if you're going to take acting against the interests of your country, I would consider all these Democrats that want to take down the wall and open the floodgates to millions of illegal aliens as not in the interest of our country.
I really like this. I really like this Thomas Homan guy when he talks to AOC and some of the other gang of four about illegal immigration. He's very direct with them. Just if you don't want to be arrested, stop breaking the law. It's just as simple as that.
Well, Nunes was absolutely stellar in the Congress the other day, talking about the witch hunt and the incredible damage to the country that the Democrats are doing with this. And and I'm a libertarian, so I really don't have great love always for the Republican Party either. I am a conservative, so I guess I lean a little bit more that way. But I got to say, this is squarely in the Democrats' lap. And let's look at really what they're going after him for. They thought, and I got to tell you, I think maybe it's a plot by Trump to just capture them by accident in this, and they're just duped. I hope so. But in any case, what they're claiming is that he colluded with the Ukraine, that he made a quid pro quo agreement with Ukraine. Now, there's two things to say here. There's a bunch of things. The first thing, though, is that we have the transcript, and there's no evidence of that. You read the transcript, and in fact, what they discuss and what President, and I'm blanking on his name right now, the young president of Ukraine is saying to Trump is that we need your help because we have been just terribly involved in all this scandal and bad behavior on our country, and we need to clean up the corruption, and we need your help to do it. And Trump promised to help him. And then down in the conversation, they did talk about Biden, but here's why. Because we have on video that Biden is saying he did this. He actually he was in the Ukraine where there was supposed to be a $6 billion deal that we were sending money through the Obama administration to Ukraine. But at the time, Hunter Biden, his son, who went to China and came out with over $1 billion, which other companies can't do, as Trump pointed out the other day. But he also went to the Ukraine, and after a week of being in the Ukraine, I guess, he's now got a job paying over $50,000 a month working for a corrupt oligarch's oil company being on the board, of which he has no technical knowledge of the oil industry or the petrol, the gas industry. So basically what happened is this looked a little crooked, and even the Ukrainians decided to investigate him. There was some honest judge in the Ukraine that decided to investigate this whole transaction with the crooked oligarch and Hunter Biden. And when sitting Vice President Biden went over there, and this is on video, we have it later, him bragging about it, he basically said to the Ukrainian head guys that he met with that, well, unless, I gave you this time to get rid of that judge, and I see that the judge this prosecutor is still investigating my son, so the money's off. You're not getting the $6 billion. And they said, you can't do that. You're not the president. He said, just call him. That was what he said, right? Just call him. And he threatens to walk out, and they caved and fired the prosecutor. Now that is not only that's quid pro quo enshrined in, the pillars of law. I mean, that's just like the perfect test case. And he's on video telling about it. So there's no question he did that. But here's the backdrop, and I don't know. This is the stuff that I don't know that people understand. That because the Ukraine was so corrupt after the fall of the Soviet Union, Ukraine, and I was a Russian major for a while at college, so I studied this stuff from all sorts of standpoints. But the Ukraine, which was part of the Russian Empire, it's got two. I guess the NSA is coming after me again. It's another one of those flip outs that's weird.
Yeah,
electrical interference on my part. As soon as I say something controversial against the Democrats, I'm kind of worried now.
Oh no. I wouldn't be worried. I think we
by
might.
the way, I'm not suicidal. I just want to say this on the air.
I
I'm not suicidal. So if anything happens to me, but anyway, the Ukraine is kind of in two halves. There's the eastern half, which is very Russian and has a lot of ties to the Russian oil industry and the Russian economy. But then the west side is a different kind of social and cultural group, and the Western Ukrainians more identify with the EU. But Russia doesn't want the Western Ukrainians in there, kind of giving away their security, because Russia sees it as the back door of their security. But there it goes again. Okay, with the NSA, please hang up. So, very funny. Now it comes back. So anyway, the problem here is that you got these warring factions. And remember when they had the Civil War, it ended up in a civil war essentially. And everybody under the Obama administration, the whole big narrative was, it's that bad Putin is going in to take out a regularly elected president. Well, that was the president preceding this president. And that was the guy that was involved in the corruption. And actually, I had a friend who's married to a Ukrainian who's over there, and he said those mobs were ginned up, not by the actual Ukrainians wanted the president out. That's what they were rioting about. And what happened is that the European Union and probably our CIA went in with operatives to try and make it about Russia. But it wasn't. But my point is, this place has been in turmoil and corruption for decades. And what's come out of it is the Democrat Party, who's been in power in this country for a long time, so they're the ones. I mean, I'm not saying somebody else wouldn't have done it, but they did. They've been using it to money launder. They've been going over there and they've been funneling money back. Like, we know that Biden's money came back through three different cutouts kind of thing. And there's just a lot of this going on. So what the new president is, he was a surprise election, kind of like Trump, who was elected on anti-corruption. So that's what this is all about. And to make this an impeachable offense for Donald Trump is insane. He's not the one that did this. And I think the reason, I don't know if you can hear me. It's just like
I can hear you fine.
Really? Isn't that funny? On my end, it sounds like I'm in one of these, like R2-D2 is screaming in both ears.
Oh, really?
With all that computer jitter. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I really think it's the NSA after me or something.
Well, we've been doing a lot of there's been a lot of changes here at the radio station too in the last week or so. There's a lot of
it
work
only
being
happens
done.
when I talk to you guys. By the way.
Yeah, so if it only happens when it talks to us, well, when you talk to us, well, it's got to be partially up here. Yeah, I've had a little trouble with my control panel here this last week as we've gone through some changes, but I think we'll get them worked out.
Well, I think those were my points, is that the Democrats, this is a money stream that they see losing. So they're in kind of a desperation mode. And I mean, you got to say it's desperate to attribute to Trump what Biden actually did. That's a desperate move. But it's not the first time they've done it. And this is called black propaganda. I mean, there's lots of that was used in World War II. Remember, the Soviets convinced everybody that the Germans had killed the Polish officers in 1940.
Oh, yeah.
Then they later, that's black propaganda. It's used by every army. I mean, pretty much everybody that does stuff like that. But anyway, this is black. So, when they yell, I mean, the first thing I thought of when I heard that Hillary and the Democrats are complaining that Trump colluded with the Russians, I said, wait a minute. Hillary sold our Ukrainian mining to the Russians. She's the one that sold us out to the Russians. But you see, that's the point. They took that and turned it around so you don't look at her. He's obstructing justice, but she got rid of 33,000 emails.
That's good.
And claimed that they were her daughter's wedding. I mean, come on.
I mean, she's the one that made $100,000 in a week on cattle futures back when she was first lady of the state of Arkansas. By the way, let's not forget that Bill Clinton, when he was governor of Arkansas, made $35,000 a year. 20 years after he was, almost 20 years now, after he was elected president, he's worth $650 million. How does that happen?
Right. And it's been going on for a long time. LBJ did it with war proceeds and the whole thing. But so this whole issue with Ukraine is about the corruption that is intrinsic to Ukraine and also relates to the money stream to the Democrat Party. And keep in mind, the Steele dossier, the dossier that got the whole fake narrative of Russian collusion going, got the whole Mueller report going, that they knew was fake. I mean, this thing was made at the request of, it was Fusion GP, it was Steele, and it was through the Ukrainians. It's not just money laundering, it's information laundering that came out of Ukraine. And it was the Democrat Hillary campaign that paid for the Fusion GPS to get this fake dossier. It was Ukraine. So watch Ukraine as a center for this. I mean, this has taken. I think there's a couple things that the deep state's going down for, and one of them is the pedophile rings that was funding and controlling people, and another one is Ukraine. It turns out that they built this whole system up over decades, and they were profiting from it, and it was hurting us. So
it really is remarkable.
I think it's a good idea.
It really is remarkable that we know there was a billionaire pedophile with his own private island that was visited by very powerful people over the many, many years, who somehow was found dead in Metropolitan Correction Center, supposedly being guarded by two different men, one of them who was apparently asleep, and the other one was out of the room at the time this man committed suicide, supposedly. And the thing we're talking about is some 15-year-old girl from Sweden, or wherever the hell she is from, talking about climate change. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein just overplayed his hand. He became a liability, and now he's dead. I think somebody murdered Jeffrey Epstein.
Of course he did. Who would believe that he didn't? I mean, I think and that's what I'm saying. If they don't believe the facts before their eyes, seeing the video of Biden, and they claim that that's fake, then we're doomed. You know, we're starting to have that narrative, right? Mm-hmm. Have you seen it all? Oh, well, wait a minute. The next election is going to be a problem because now they can fake movies so well that we won't know the truth. You won't know the truth. Well, that's preparing us for this kind of an operation, And at some point, they become so disgusted they don't believe anything, and we can't function like that. We have to have a population that believes something, and investigates the truth for themselves, and takes appropriate action. Because I honestly think we don't have much longer as a nation if we don't turn this around.
I'm wondering myself, the Democratic Party response to President Trump has shown us who the Democrats really are. They are totally consumed with power and wealth and their own self-interest, not the interests of the country, but of themselves. They are merciless in their pursuit of power. Merciless.
Yeah, and we've had on both sides of the aisle where people are taking money from people they shouldn't and doing their behalf.
Oh, listen, do we forget the 1996 Clinton campaign scandal when China appeared to be very cozy with certain Clinton officials. Right after that story broke, 50 people left the country, and some of them didn't come back for years. 50 people, ladies and gentlemen.
50 people,
and Janice Reno would not appoint a special prosecutor. She stood firm. She wouldn't do it. She didn't see the evidence, even though it was right there in front of her face. She sat before a Senate and House committee and just stonewalled. She would, and now today, William Barr acts like President Trump's personal attorney. Janet Reno was Clinton's personal attorney.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a whole book called The Year of the Rat. I actually know the author, and it cites somebody that I knew, a friend of mine that was in the White House as a military liaison in the White House. But they, you know, it's all about China. They've owned the Clintons for years. They've been paying into this thing for years. And they've gotten their money's worth. They own a lot of things now, including parts of the Panama Canal and the movie industry and everything else. And they're now going to bring us social credit scores. But the first thing we got to do is get over this impeachment. And I think people need to wake up and say, you might not like Trump, you might not want to vote for him again, but you can't have a system of government where we take away the electoral process and replace it with legalese. And that's what they've done at trying to get the appointments of the Supreme Court justices with these nightmarish accusations and falsehoods and because what happens is people say, well, I voted for that guy, but I didn't know he was a criminal. And so now when you make something a criminal case, it changes people's perception, and it obscures the fact that this is your duly elected officers. It doesn't do us any good to have these people keep tearing down the office of the president. And they would, and when, of course, Obama did things that were horrendous, and nobody went after him.
Well, that's because he was so charming.
With you, remember him leaning forward to Medvedev and saying, "Don't worry, when I get in my second term, I'll have more freedom.
I'll have a lot more flexibility." Yeah, the Democrats didn't say a thing about that Russian collusion. Now, did they?
No, that's not collusion at all. Yeah.
You see, especially with the Clintons, the Democrats lost the moral high ground forever. They think they still have it, but they do not. The Clintons were so corrupt, so crooked, and Hillary Clinton was such an obvious tool that they've never really recovered, and they still think it's the 1970s, and right after Watergate or something, and they have shown the Republicans to be bad people. They have been shown to be bad people for 20 years, really bad people.
But see, the thing of it is, money talks, and when they always talked about Hillary being the rainmaker, that she could always bring money, and that's why she got to be the candidate, and that's why she got all her way, and that's why they're still powerful today. But that money, if they take down Ukraine corruption, may be drying up, and that's the point. That's why they're so scared of Trump, because he's not bound to globalists, and he's going after corruption and helping people around the world going after corruption. I mean, you know, even if people don't appreciate his personality or his lifestyle or whatever, look what's happened since he's been elected. I mean, Brazil elected a nationalist, anti-corruption president. We got Brexit going on in England because Boris, what's his name? The new Prime Minister of Britain. Yeah, and Boris Johnson. I always want to say Boris Yeltsin. It's not Boris Yeltsin. Boris Johnson. And Nigel Farage is elected, and we got we lost Salvini in Italy, unfortunately, but the Italians are already rethinking that, and we got this guy in Hungary that's taken on no new people coming into his borders, and he's exalting nationalism, cleaning up the state. It's happening all around the world, and now we got the Ukrainian president.
Oh, Trump gave that speech to the UN a little earlier this week where he talked about nationalism and encouraged other countries to be nationalistic. And I just had to go to MSNBC to see the mental and emotional collapse of their on-air people. And it was there, believe me. They lost it. Oh, nationalism is Trump is encouraging nationalism like it was the worst thing in the world.
Well,
and by the way, they've spent years demonizing that word, by the way.
Right, like it's the worst thing in the world. But let's just point out our options here. what's been happening, and I've been asleep, I got to say, until fairly recently, and I think most of us have been asleep, is that we have lost our own freedom, not to our own government as much as somewhat to our government, but it's because we have chosen to put power in the hands of unelected multinational bodies like the World Trade Organization, the UN, all the financial national organizations, the international bank. That's our choice. Either we take back our sovereignty as a nation and get rid of all these rules, or we are going to be slaves, like the English claim about to the EU. The English are the examples of what they've done with the EU. They don't want unelected power controlled over them, and that's us too. The Clintons signed off the right of the child, and they were going to sign on to the gun ban that the UN wanted to bring into America. We don't want laws written for us by the UN. We don't want a monetary policy written for us by the International Monetary Fund. We're a sovereign nation, and I think this is it. If we don't take back our sovereignty under Trump now, it's maybe lost for a long time, and we may be entering. I think like we entered, like when Rome fell, they entered a dark ages.
Yes,
and
they did.
Our dark ages are going to be different, because our dark ages are going to be, we're controlled by international non-elected groups, and we're controlled by, now we have quantum computing's just been announced by Google, who said they were going to work with AI in China. We're now having the potential of having total personal liberty taken away by constant surveillance from your household items, from your street cameras, and they will put social credit scores on you, and you're going to be just a serf to this international globalist elite that control you through quantum computing. That's where it's going if we don't turn this around.
Dr. Lee,
even Elon Musk talks about this.
Dr. Lee Heeb has been our guest. Lee, thank you as always.
Hey, thanks. See ya.
All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
I remember a teacher that I had.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
Wi-Fi is spelled W-I-F-I. Unfortunately for many people, it also spells T-M-I, as in too much information. Because Wi-Fi, whether public or right in your own home, even if it's password protected, isn't always private. Cybercriminals can use Wi-Fi to steal information you send and receive while online. To put a stop to TMI on Wi-Fi, you need Norton Secure VPN. That's Norton Secure Virtual Private Network. Bank-grade encryption to help keep your personal information and online behavior private from hackers every time you're connected. Don't let Wi-Fi mean TMI. Go to norton.com/VPN. Norton Secure VPN starts at less than $4 a month with annual subscription. Terms apply.
Connect to this radio station from all across the country. Take us to the gym, shopping. How about a road trip? Listen to us now on the free iHeartRadio app. You'll never miss a moment with your favorite radio station. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search for this station so we can go wherever you want us to.
At Capital One, you can open a new savings account in about 5 minutes and earn 5 times the national average. 5 minutes? That's less time than you spend arguing about how to pronounce GIF.
Wait, GIF or GIF?
Hard G. Less time than you spend trying to stick to your paleo diet.
Resist the carbs. Ooh, brownies.
No brownies. That's about 5 minutes to earn 5 times the national average savings rate. This is banking reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Rate comparison based on FDIC national rate. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The Fort Dodge Community School District has released an update regarding the online threat posted on Indeed over the weekend. The district's Director of Communications and Community Relations, Jennifer Lane, said that the district was taking the threat seriously, as they take any and all threats seriously, and have implemented increased precautionary measures, such as having resource officers increase their patrols and coordinating with local police to increase their presence and patrols in the school areas. In a statement released earlier today, the district said that the Fort Dodge Police Department does not believe that the threat is credible and is still investigating the matter. Fort Dodge Fire Rescue will be having their Red Line Run this Sunday, October 6th at Kennedy Park. The event is in honor of Kelvin Brown, who passed away due to cancer. Fort Dodge firefighter Megan Spears is one of the organizers of the event. Here's her comments on the legacy of Kelvin Brown.
We just really wanted to honor somebody so small but had so much impact on so many people.
The event will be a 5K run and walk. It will begin at 1 p.m. Sunday at Kennedy Park. The entry fee is $25 and will include lunch. You can register the day of the event between 11:30 and 12:45, or you can pre-register by emailing Megan Spears at mspears@fortdodgeiowa.org. The Artist Warehouse, located at the Crossroads Mall here in Fort Dodge, will be hosting their inaugural Teen Ladies and Women Empowerment Gathering this Saturday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The purpose of the event is to inspire culture and diversity for women in the area. The event will feature guest speakers who are local businesswomen here in Fort Dodge, along with vocal performances and poetry reading. To be purchased at Artist Warehouse and the Wellness Project Fort Dodge. In sports, the Iowa Central Tritons fell at Highland in Kansas over the weekend, 20-14. Highland would score twice in the first quarter, taking a 14-0 lead. The Tritons would score in the second quarter on a Kurt Taylor touchdown run of 75 yards. Taylor would finish with 215 rushing yards on 33 carries and a touchdown. Iowa Central would then tie the game at 14 with under 5 minutes left, but Highland would answer, scoring the go-ahead touchdown on a 42-yard touchdown pass with 2 minutes left, and would hold on to win it 20-14. Iowa Central will be back in action this Saturday, their homecoming game, hosting Garden City for a noon kickoff. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Mainly sunny skies and calm this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 87. Winds out of the south 20 to 25 miles per hour. Scattered thunderstorms likely. Tonight, lows level off around 64. Cloudy skies expected. Overcast skies tomorrow. Scattered thunderstorms likely. High temperatures reach up to 72. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 88.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. December corn up 16.5 to close at $3.88. March up 15 3/4 at $3.99.5. May corn up 14 1/4 at $4.05 1/4. July up 12 at $4.08.5. November soybeans up 23 cents at $9.06. January up 22 at $9.19.5. March up 20 cents at $9.30. May up 18.5 at $9.39. December wheat closed up 8.5 at $4.95 3/4. Soybean meal up $6 a ton at $2.95.90. October live cattle down 45 cents at $104.57. December down 27 at $110.30. October feeders down $1.92 at $142.40. November down $105 at $141.92. October lean hogs up 17 cents at $65.45. And December up $2.75 to close at $72.60. From the farm desk, I'm Dwayne Murley.
It's officially fall and many new fruits and vegetables are now in season. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. If you go to the grocery store or a seasonal farmer's market, you will find an abundance of fresh apples, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, carrots, garlic, green beans, sweet potatoes, winter squash, and more. Of course, many of these items are available in stores year-round. Local and regional fall produce will be at its peak for flavor now. There are ways to store the produce to make it last a bit longer. Blanching and freezing vegetables is an easy way to ensure that you'll have the produce available past the fall months. Simply chop up some vegetables like broccoli before blanching them. Once they're chopped, put the vegetables in boiling water to clean them, brighten the color, and prevent the loss of vitamins. After this, they're ready to be stored in the freezer. Some produce should be refrigerated. Apples should be kept cold. Place them in a crisper drawer in a plastic bag with holes. That's a good option. Non-refrigerated fall produce should also be stored properly. Potatoes, onions, and garlic should be kept in a dark and cool spot to keep them from going bad. Potatoes, for example, should not be placed in the refrigerator because it typically increases their sweetness. Storing seasonal fruits and vegetables the proper way will help them last longer in these fall months. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
The Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council present the story of Cynthia and Ed.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, out of the blue, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. And she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn or just stay at the stop sign. She wasn't even really sure where she was at. She was very concerned. It was very unsettling for her.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it, to bring the family in on it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Need a new roof? Have you considered that there's very few roofers to choose from, and come September, everyone at once will decide their roof must be completed before winter? The last thing you want is the winter roof that will never seal properly, or an improperly installed roof done by a contractor you may never see again. Don't wait any longer. Call Hahn Roofing today, and in most cases, they can start your project within 2 weeks and finish within 1 or 2 days. Call Hahn Roofing today for your free estimate. 515-573-7440. That's Hahn Roofing, 515-573-7440.
If you're drowning in IRS tax debt, pay attention to this special announcement. There's a special toll-free hotline set up especially for you. Get ready to take this number down to take advantage of the new IRS tax forgiveness programs. Here's Jesse from Las Vegas.
I've been so stressed out lately knowing that I owe the IRS over $22,000, and now they just garnished my wages. A friend of mine told me about Superior Tax Relief, so I called them, and they were able to stop the garnishment, and they were also able to help me with my other tax problems. I feel so free again, and I would definitely recommend Superior Tax Relief.
Call Superior Tax Relief now, 800-711-5099, and speak to a qualified professional who can protect you from the added fees and negotiate your tax liability. Superior Tax Relief can help open new doors with the IRS Fresh Start program that's available now. The consultation is free. The information is free. This call could save you thousands. Call 800-711-5099. 800-711-5099. That's 800-711-5099.
Thrifty White Community Health Corner, your source for reliable health information. Managing and refilling your prescriptions has never been easier when you download the Thrifty White mobile app, create a free account, and start managing your prescriptions. With our mobile app, you can also find the nearest Thrifty White pharmacy, request a refill, or set up a pill reminder so you never miss a dose. Download the Thrifty White mobile app for free at Google Play or the App Store. For more details, ask a pharmacy team member at your local Thrifty White pharmacy.
Some conventional farmers are managing weeds like organic farmers to build soil health. Hello, I'm Larry Lee with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. Sandy Seiberg of Purple Cow Organics says he's seen more interest from conventional farmers in water-soluble calcium to reduce chemical use and trips across the field. We'll hear from him next on Managing for Profit.
They say to really know a man, you have to walk a mile in his boots. Well, my channel seedsman has logged more miles than I can count in mine. Every spring, we hit my fields together at the first sight of green. 6 weeks later, he's out here again, checking roots, stalks, soil like they were his own. As crops grow, so does his commitment to making sure there's nothing overlooked. Nutrients, weed control, pests, disease. He gets an agronomist to weigh in whenever we need a second opinion. The whole time using the latest technology to document where we've been and decide where we're going. Wheels always turning. And come harvest, we celebrate in the cab. Him working away, making plans for next season. That, my friends, is what they call seedsmanship at work. Look, anybody can sell you seed. Only a Channel seedsman gives you everything you need to make the most of it. Find yours at channel.com/boots. Always read and follow grain marketing and all of their stewardship practices and pesticide label directions.
Sandy Seiberg of Purple Cow Organics says more conventional farmers are joining organic farmers in managing weeds with water-soluble calcium applied to fields shortly after seeding.
I think there is some gaining traction as far as soil balancing and fertility balancing in all ag, regardless of whether it's organic or conventional, and the effects that has on soil tilt and in the instance of organics, it's going to reduce weed pressure and manage them easier. And conventional, I think it probably can allow farmers to reduce or eliminate passes with herbicides, which I'm all for.
How's the cost comparison? Let's say you're a conventional farmer, you're spraying now. Can you go to calcium and save or come out the same amount of money?
That's a good question. I think that when you're using calcium in a weed control soil health benefit, you're doing it for more than one reason. And on my farm, I like being able to go across the field and be basically achieving more than one objective with one pass. So when we're putting calcium out, and if it's a highly soluble calcium source, we're doing some weed management or helping ourselves in weed management. There's also a portion of that product that is more slow release calcium. So I'm building my calcium reserves for future crops. Calcium is an integral part in the cell structure of plants and those animals that eat plants. So, higher calcium increases density of yields. Calcium is referred to by many as the trucker of other nutrients. So it is going to bring along other macro and micronutrients in the process. You want to apply it on the surface of the soil and try and keep it in that upper 2 inches, which is where weed seeds are most prone to germinate. Don't incorporate it, don't get it down deep in the soil and dilute it with soil and reduce its efficacy. So if in all of that, you're trying to compare the cost of a calcium application purely from its weed management aspects and compare it to, say, a pass with a field cultivator or a herbicide application, it's really not a fair comparison. But I think ultimately, overall, in the full scope of things, looking at soil health, improving soil health, improving water infiltration, improving air porosity, which are all things that help us reduce weed pressures, and whether we're managing those weeds mechanically or chemically, it should benefit everybody.
Seiberg says it's not uncommon to apply 500 pounds of calcium per acre. One drawback, Seiberg says it doesn't do a lot to stop giant ragweed. I'm Larry Lee with Managing for Profit on Brownfield.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
Yes. We've got 60 rounds of freedom at all times at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. First, the good news, Donald Trump's not going to be impeached. I don't care. Donald Trump is not going to be impeached. Not gonna happen. Sorry, liberals. Still to this day, as obnoxious as Donald Trump is, he seems preferable to you people who scream and you seem to glory in the fact that you're bitter and full of anger and that you have a right to scream, and you will stand on the rooftops and continue to scream. That seems to be the liberal Democratic response to the presidency of Donald Trump. There has been screaming going on since, 9:05, November 5th, 2016? It's ridiculous. Donald Trump tried to find out information on Hunter Biden to smear Joe Biden. That's roughhouse politics. That's the way it goes. Listen, this is politics. Like it or not. Politics is making sausage, yes, and this is part of it. Yeah, we should have a law that spoiled children of long-term powerful political people should tell their kids to get a job. Hunter Biden's in his 40s, for God's sake. What's he doing getting his pocket stuffed by daddy in the Ukraine? $50,000 a month? He has nada, no experience in the field, and he was appointed to the board of directors of a major gas and oil company in the Ukraine. Now, at a salary of $50,000 a month. Now, do you suppose he was there a lot? What do you suppose his contributions were? I'll tell you what his contributions were. He was the son of the then Vice President of the United States. Now, Joe Biden made a veiled threat to Ukraine to get rid of a prosecutor who wasn't being tough enough on some of the people that Obama and Biden didn't like back then. Who is he? I mean, if you want to play this game, let's do it. Who is he to interfere in the internal political structure of the Ukraine? If Biden didn't get his way, he was going to prevent, yes, money and military shipments from going to the Ukraine. But Donald Trump tells the president of the Ukraine, oh, yes, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President of the Ukraine, find some stuff out on Biden or I'll hold up the next shipment of missiles, anti-tank missiles. What do you think the president of Ukraine is going to do? I mean, he's got the Russian bear breathing down his neck. Of course he's going to do it. That's roughhouse politics. Impeachable offense, don't make me laugh. Nancy Pelosi does worse regularly. Nancy Pelosi flies her adult children around the country first class at the taxpayers' expense. I mean, Bill Clinton made $35,000 a year as governor of Arkansas. Hillary Clinton did much better. I don't know what a rich girl from the West Chicago suburbs knew about trading in Texas cattle futures, but she made like $100,000 in a week or something like that, trading in, when she was at the Rose Law Firm in Little Rock. So she did considerably better than Bill Clinton. But between the two of them now, after he was president 8 years, after she was a United States Senator from New York, God, born in Chicago, First Lady of Arkansas, Senator from New York, what a shameless opportunist. After all that, they are worth $650 million and counting. And by the way, there is a continuing legal battle going on by a number of states and cities to try to get Donald Trump's tax returns for no other reason than spite and a mean-spirited political vendetta. Hillary Clinton has never told us what was in some of the speeches, what she said to Wall Street executives. Because I'll bet you she sold us out. If you're a working person or a small business person in the United States of America, I'll bet you Hillary Clinton sold us out. But we'll never know. We'll never know. There's no city or state or county or political party suing to find out what Hillary Clinton said she would do for some of the most powerful financiers in the country. And by the way, we see a little glimpse of it. We see a little glimpse of it according to CNBC. And I've talked about this before. According to CNBC, major Wall Street players who contribute regularly to the Democratic Party, millions and millions of dollars, have said they will not contribute if Elizabeth Warren is their candidate. So I'm going to make this announcement right now. I am going to support Elizabeth Warren for President of the United States. I will support Elizabeth Warren for the Democratic nomination, and I will support Elizabeth Warren for President of the United States. Now, it's not because of this low-down nonsense. It's not because I think Wall Street shouldn't run the Democratic Party, which I definitely think it shouldn't. They already run the Republican Party. I'm going to support Elizabeth Warren because Randy Feaster, who's running for the Republican nomination to be our next congressman from the 4th District, trying to topple Steve King, and Jeremy Taylor both have told me on the air that they are in favor of phasing out Medicare. Phasing out Medicare. That's what Randy Feaster and Jeremy Taylor both want to do. I want, in the name of capitalism, in the name of capitalist purity, I guess. Is this really what we stand for? Is this sort of indifference to human need really what we stand for in the congressional 4th District? I am a traditionalist. I will take back a backseat to no one in my conservative credentials. And I support entrepreneurial and aspirational capitalism. I do not support cruelty in the name of aspirational capitalism or entrepreneurial capitalism, because that's exactly what it is. They can dress it. Feenstra and Taylor and everybody else who wants to phase out Medicare can dress this pig up any way they want to. It's just mean-spirited indifference to the people that they claim to want to serve. They're not serving the people of the Congressional Fourth. They're not serving the people of the state of Iowa or the United States of America. And I will not support their election, or they're certainly not their nomination, as Republican candidates for the 4th congressional seat. I'm done with them. They can go to some other talk radio station in Fort Dodge. If you're going to start talking about phasing out Medicare, Social Security is next. Social Security is next. Look, pensions, private sector pensions have been gone for years. All we have is this crummy 401k to do our best with. Capitalism under Feenstra and Taylor and others means libertarianism. This is a harsh libertarian type of capitalism. It's not Christian capitalism. It's not the type of capitalism that we have known in the past. Believe me, business gets plenty of breaks from government. Business depends on government to create a regulatory structure so that business can thrive. Don't ever get this idea, and we got it under Terry Branstad, that Republicans are there to do away with regulation. No, they're there to do away with unions, apparently. And any dent in the profits of some of the wealthiest people in the country. This is a shameful attack on Medicare, and I will not be a part of it. I watched Fox Business News this morning. And some of the Fox Business people, two women, Maria Bartiromo was one of them, and Maria Bartiromo is usually a sensible woman. But they were talking about Bernie Sanders, and Bernie's going over the deep end, of course. And I was a Bernie supporter in 2016 because it's about the economy, stupid. It's not about transgender surgery. It's not about, oh, my God, kids at the border or any of these other things. And it's certainly not Donald Trump's betrayal, like Hakeem Jeffries says. Did you hear what Hakeem Jeffries said, congressman from New York? We want to focus on Donald Trump's betrayal of the country. Use these words. Use these 6 words. And I can't remember what all 6 of them were, but the first was betrayal. Right on cue, the St. Louis Dispatch picked it up this morning. Yes, Trump has betrayed the country and he must be impeached. But Bernie Sanders tells us that we should get rid of billionaires altogether, that they serve no purpose. I kind of agree with that. Bernie Sanders said that we should get rid of billionaires altogether. And Maria Bartiromo goes in first. First, she starts talking about Venezuela. Oh, Sanders is a socialist. Look what socialism has done to Venezuela. No, that's thuggery in Venezuela. It's something different. It's something different. If you want to see the type of socialism Bernie Sanders wants, go to Europe, Germany, Great Britain, any of those countries. That's what Bernie Sanders wants for us. Or even better from Sanders. And by the way, there's really no such thing as free market capitalism anyway, not in this world. Not in this world. But Maria Bartiromo goes off about, oh, yes, we'll all be in the same boat as Detroit or Venezuela. And the same old saw and tired routine I've been hearing from them for a long, long time. And then she tells us that, well, if we get rid of billionaires, they'll pack up and go to China or Russia. Did you hear that? Maria Bartiromo this morning said, if we get rid of billionaires, they'll pack up and go to China or Russia. That's utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. That's what you say when you're trying to scare people. The Venezuela-Detroit comparison, the godless communism thing. You're trying to scare people. You're just trying to scare people, that's all. And Maria Bartiromo ends with aspirational capitalism. That's what we want. Drive around our district and tell me about aspirational capitalism. 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
From tuning an engine to replacing a fuse, you can learn it all under the hood. Heard every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
It's Rudy Giuliani's turn. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. The president's personal attorney now subpoenaed by the House Intelligence Committee, seeking documents related to Ukraine and specifically mentioning Giuliani's statement made during TV interviews that he asked Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden. Earlier today, President Trump again denying any wrongdoing in his phone call with Ukraine's president that led to a whistleblower complaint.
This whole thing is a disgrace. There's been tremendous corruption, and we're seeking it. It's called Drain the Swamp. There's been corruption on the other side. There's been corruption like you've never seen.
The president suggesting he just wanted Ukraine's help to root out corruption. Democrats say he wanted dirt on Biden, a 2020 challenger. Meantime, House Republicans dealing with 2 more exits. Congressman Mac Thornberry becoming the 6th Texas Republican to announce he will not seek re-election. And New York Congressman Chris Collins, who's accused of insider trading, is resigning on the eve of a court appearance where he's now expected to plead guilty.
Prosecutors say he advised stockholders, including his son, to sell shares in a biopharmaceutical company after a drug trial failed. It's up to New York Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo to call a special election to fill the seat in the district, which leans Republican.
Fox's Gernal Scott. Federal prosecutors announcing an espionage case in California.
I'm here to announce charges that an American citizen acted as a secret agent of the People's Republic of China against the United States here in the Northern District of California.
It's U.S. Attorney David Anderson speaking earlier today, announcing the charges against the 56-year-old suspect known as Edward Peng, accused of delivering classified U.S. national security information to officials in China. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. I've got great news. Mortgage interest rates have dropped. So if you're thinking about buying a home, right now is the time to lock that low rate, even before you find the home of your dreams. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
The fate of a former Dallas police officer now in the jury's hands after the case moved quickly to closing arguments earlier today.
The prosecution wrapped last week. The defense now also done presenting its case, including having former officer 31-year-old Amber Geiger testify in her own defense that she mistook 26-year-old Botham Jean's apartment for hers last year, opening fire as he approached her in the dark.
I never wanted to take an innocent person's life. I am so sorry.
The prosecution calling the former officer's actions unreasonable.
Fox's Jeff Manasso. Geiger is charged with murder, but the jury is allowed to consider a lesser count as they continue deliberations now. She could face life in prison if convicted. College athletes in California would be able to make endorsement deals under a first-in-the-nation bill signed into law by Governor Gavin Newsom, who calls it a social justice issue, stopping the exploitation of student athletes. Fox's William Lajeunesse.
Till now, athletes could not monetize their name, image, or likeness. This law changes that. And already lawmakers in Florida, Colorado, New York, South Carolina have drafted their own copycat laws to allow their schools to do the same thing, because this gives California universities a recruiting advantage. Say you're a top recruit coming out of high school, you're going to go to Notre Dame or Ohio State or California, where you can pocket hundreds of thousands of dollars or more. Newsom says it's an issue of fairness, Not right for universities to make $14 billion off of sports while their athletes get nothing but an education.
The NCAA says it agrees changes are needed, but argues that improvement should happen on a national basis through its own rules-making process, adding it will consider next steps on the California law, which isn't scheduled to take effect until 2023. Lisa Brady, this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The Fort Dodge Community School District has released an update regarding the online threat posted on Indeed over the weekend. The district's Director of Communications and Community Relations, Jennifer Lane, said that the district was taking the threat seriously, as they take any and all threats seriously, and have implemented increased precautionary measures, such as having resource officers increase their patrols and coordinating with local police to increase their presence and patrols in the school areas. In a statement released earlier today, the district said that the Fort Dodge Police Department does not believe that the threat is credible and is still investigating the matter. Fort Dodge Fire Rescue will be having their Red Line Run this Sunday, October 6th at Kennedy Park. The event is in honor of Kelvin Brown, who passed away due to cancer. Fort Dodge firefighter Megan Spears is one of the organizers of the event. Here's her comments on the legacy of Kelvin Brown.
We just really wanted to honor somebody so small but had so much impact on so many people.
The event will be a 5K run and walk. It will begin at 1 p.m. Sunday at Kennedy Park. The entry fee is $25 and will include lunch. You can register the day of the event between 11:30 and 12:45, or you can pre-register by emailing Megan Spears at mspears@fortdodgeiowa.org. The Artist Warehouse, located at the Crossroads Mall here in Fort Dodge, will be hosting their inaugural Teen Ladies and Women Empowerment Gathering this Saturday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The purpose of the event is to inspire culture and diversity for women in the area. The event will feature guest speakers who are local businesswomen here in Fort Dodge, along with vocal performances and poetry reading. Formal attire is the dress code, and there will be food and dessert. Tickets are $5 and can be purchased at Artist Warehouse and the Wellness Project Fort Dodge. In sports, the Iowa Central Tritons fell at Highland in Kansas over the weekend, 20-14. Highland would score twice in the first quarter, taking a 14-0 lead. The Tritons would score in the second quarter on a Kurt Taylor touchdown run of 75 yards. Taylor would finish with 215 rushing yards on 33 carries and a touchdown. Iowa Central would then tie the game at 14 with under 5 minutes left, but Highland would answer, scoring the go-ahead touchdown on a 42-yard touchdown pass with 2 minutes left, and would hold on to win it 20-14. Iowa Central will be back in action this Saturday, their homecoming game, hosting Garden City for a noon kickoff. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Mainly sunny skies and calm this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 87. Winds out of the south, 20 to 25 miles per hour. Scattered thunderstorms likely. Tonight, lows level off around 64. Cloudy skies expected. Overcast skies. Tomorrow, scattered thunderstorms likely. High temperatures reach up to 72. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 89.
Doors are being slammed in your face, and bad credit is holding you back from buying a house, car, even getting a credit card. $99 per credit bureau can put your credit back to a 750 or higher. That's right, just $99 per credit bureau. Bankruptcy, tax liens, judgment, and even late pays can be removed from credit reports by calling the Giving Days Foundation, a nonprofit organization here to help. Federal law allows you to challenge each and every item on your credit report. We'll recalculate your personal credit score for only $99 per credit bureau and repair your personal credit for free. Just be one of the first 10 callers, and by signing up now, you'll receive a Visa credit card at the end of the program worth $1,000. Call 800-543 5772. Call now to recalculate your personal credit score for only $99 per credit bureau. 800-543-5772. Don't miss this free credit repair. Just be one of the first 10 callers, and by calling and signing up now, you'll receive a Visa credit card at the end of the program worth $1,000. 800-543-5772.
If you don't listen to him, you suck.
He's sneaky, but he's right.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, this is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth, and you can join this program by calling 515-955-1400. That's 515-955-1400. With me now, the leading fun hater in the entire town. That's David Furick, City Manager. How are you there, Dr. Evil? What's going on?
I like fun. Why do you call me fun?
You like fun because you keep trying to kill things that are fun. all of a sudden, these plans appear from before the council that have fun hater written all over them. So I just assume,
Your definition of fun is different than most, I think.
Well, no, I didn't. Oh, see, that's the Bembrick position. Oh, only you think that way, Mike. I don't think so. No.
So when is Junk Day supposed to be fun?
Junk Day is fun. You get all the junk out of your house and you sit in your front porch or look out the window and watch the city workers come and get it, and they're joyful. They are joyful in their work.
The entertainment is not the city workers.
No.
It's the junkers.
Oh, yeah, there's another thing. That's even better. I forgot about that. I can't believe I forgot about that. Oh, my God.
It should be like a contest. How much stuff can you fit in a 1984 Dodge Caravan?
Oh, really? Or even a car trunk.
Yeah.
Even in an old Dodge K car. Jeez, they got junk sticking out of the trunk, and the back seat is filled up, and they're looking for more, and I love that stuff. I absolutely love that stuff. David Furick, City Manager, if you have a question or comment for the City Manager, 515-955-1400. Keep it clean, of course. And we don't have a City Council meeting tonight.
No, but we do have a special event tonight.
We have a special event.
We do.
All right.
We do. It is the 150th, what do we call it? The 150th celebration of 150 years. So the city of Fort Dodge was incorporated as a city in 1869.
So 150 years.
In September of 1869, they had their first council meeting and was incorporated as a city. So
wow,
it's been 150 years.
Wow.
So what we're doing tonight in commemoration is we are dedicating the public art that's been placed at the corner of First Avenue South and 9th Street. Right across from City Hall. It's called Chronicle. It's a sculpture that was put up. This is from the artist. It signifies the growth of Fort Dodge by honoring the past, energizing the present while hinting at the future. And his hope is that it'll become a point of pride for the city and engage the community for years to come. And if you've been by it, it's a really cool stainless steel piece.
It is. The artist had different sections of that sculpture mean different things. Do you have that explanation?
So I'll read from the thing. It tells a narrative of the city of Fort Dodge. Its history, present, and future interweaving forms at the base mimic the crystalline structure of gypsum and provide a foundation for the growth, a nod to the history of the city. The central columnar form represents growth and expansion supported by corbel forms, acknowledging the local architecture and its Chicago-style influence. A ribbon forms skirts the column, alluding to the Des Moines River. The column will be lit with color-changing LEDs to illuminate abstract images of the geography and landscape of the area, providing an ever-changing experience at night. It extends into a flourish of abstract forms circling the column, alluding to the Fort Dodge as a hub for the region, spiraling upward, expressing growth and energy of the community as it heads to the future.
Man,
so really cool.
You'd have to be an artist to talk like that.
Yeah. It was hard for me to read it because I don't know how to talk like that.
I bet it was.
But no, it's a pretty cool structure. So, I mean, people haven't seen the LEDs yet, and we might not see it tonight because it won't be dark by then. But there'll be LEDs lit from the inside. So
is it already lighted? Is it already lit at night or not?
I saw electricians out there last Friday. I saw some electricians today. So I think they're trying to get it all done.
Were they Bemrick Electric guys?
There was actually Bemrick.
I bet there was.
I think they were basically giving their time away to do the project. Yeah.
Oh, were they giving? They're not charging you?
I don't think. Well, I know there's no contract with
I'd charge
the
you.
city. I know you
There's no contract with
that I've seen. No.
Okay. You don't suppose Matt's trying to sneak it in the back door there? No, I don't think he is either. Is he back, by the way? Is he back
Yeah, he's back.
All right.
He was back last week. I guess it was a very positive meeting. Very good.
That's right.
Very
He
good.
was.
I haven't gotten a full report on it yet, but I'm
He
sure
was
that's coming.
texting me about the St. Ed game.
Oh.
I was at Fort Dodge. Wasn't that a heartbreaking game? I saw you out there.
No, you didn't.
I
You
didn't
must have
see
saw
you?
someone who looked like me. No, I was in Iowa City Friday.
Oh, really? God, I
Yeah.
could have sworn I saw you.
No.
I've seen you a few times.
I know. I wish
recently.
that'd have been a fun.
I saw you
well,
today at noon.
It was kind of a heartbreaking loss, but it would have been an exciting. game to
Heartbreaker.
be at.
I left thinking we had the game in the
Oh.
bag, and I get up the next morning and whoa, you know.
Yeah.
I went home and was listening to the St. Edmund game.
Oh.
And St. Ed's lost 2, of course, so it wasn't a great weekend for football. And then the Cyclones lost 2. So
Yeah.
But the Hawkeyes won. I'm
The
going to have to
Hawkeyes
listen to Randy Koolman and Nevin Mulholland in here on Friday.
Yeah,
say what a
they-
tremendous sign of progress this was for the Hawkeyes to beat Middle State Tennessee.
Middle Tennessee. Yeah, that was a very one-sided game.
It
Middle
really
Tennessee
was.
State really couldn't get much of anything going.
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole-
They were all jazzed up when Iowa State
Yeah.
beat Louisiana Monroe.
Yeah. Well, the
and
Hawkeyes-
they did. They killed them.
The
Oh,
Hawkeyes
God.
have a test this weekend. They got to go to Michigan.
Yeah.
And Michigan, even though they got embarrassed a couple weeks ago, they beat the heck out of Rutgers just this Saturday.
Well, Iowa beat Rutgers.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
Rutgers doesn't look too good.
So it'll be two evenly matched teams on Saturday, I think.
Probably. I'm unimpressed with Michigan. You know,
You still got to go up there and win.
Oh yeah, you do. I mean, all apologies to Jim Meyer, but I'm not impressed with. I thought Jim Harbaugh would do a much better job. I was kind of excited for Michigan as a counterbalance to Ohio State, but Urban Meyer's gone from Ohio State now, and Ohio State did do me a favor. They crushed Nebraska. They just crushed him.
Oh yeah, Michigan comes in with a preseason ranking in the top 5, and then they barely.
How can they have a top 5 rating?
Well, they came in with that. It was all hype, and
I
then
know.
they barely squeaked by their first 2 opponents, and then who was it that beat them up real bad? That would just embarrass them.
I can't remember. It
darn
was just last week, not last weekend, but the weekend before.
Yeah, they got embarrassed, and then
yeah, they did.
Was it Wisconsin? No.
Yes, it was Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Wisconsin beat them like this guy in
Yeah.
the service always used to say, like a redheaded stepchild. He'd say they beat them like a redheaded stepchild.
Yeah, it was over 30 points in the first half. I
Oh,
remember.
yeah.
It was. They had their way with them.
Yeah, they did. That sounds rather sexual, David. Had their way with them. I don't know if it went that far or not. No, So I'm not a big Cheesehead fan. You know.
No.
I kind of had to. I gave him plenty of respect when Barry Alvarez was there because Barry was on the University of Iowa coaching staff and Notre Dame coaching staff, and he was also a head coach over at Mason City High School back in the day.
You know, I played in the first game Barry Alvarez coached for Wisconsin.
Did you really?
Yeah, Western Illinois. My senior year, we went up to Wisconsin. We were their warm-up moneymaker game. We made money on it driving up there in buses to Madison. But yeah, we were their warm-up game.
How bad you get beat?
Oh, it wasn't terrible. We actually were leading at halftime, 14-10, which was cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Western Illinois was leading?
Yeah. We wish the game was over by then. But no, I think they came back and scored like 2 or 3 touchdowns in the second half. They scored 2 touchdowns off punt returns. It was kind of brutal. Well, they had this amazing punt return D-back. He just ran all over the field.
Oh.
And us, a little 1AA school, we had no kind of speed to match
Sure,
that.
yeah.
And then, so yeah.
Western Illinois, I think, isn't that where Randy Koolman coached?
Yeah, he coached there too. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, he coached basketball.
Basketball, yeah. Well, basketball is his thing. He's, I mean, he's a good football player, and he broke a high school friend of mine's heart by throwing a touchdown pass over my buddy's head.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my experience with Barry Alvarez being the first team he got to beat when he coached Wisconsin.
I have a faithful listener who has informed me that Speaker of the House of Representatives Linda Upmeyer has resigned. I did see that a little earlier. I think I did mention
from
it.
just her speaker role or entire?
Just the speaker role, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, she's stepping down as speaker. I don't think she's stepping away from public office, but maybe that's the next mention. I don't know.
I must have missed it. Is there something in the news about her?
Yeah, it came out about an hour ago. I saw it. I thought I mentioned it on air, but my listener here keeps me pretty well.
Did you give a reason why?
I didn't really see it.
Oh, okay.
Didn't really see it. I mean, it doesn't want to do it. I don't know. Yeah, so, I don't know. I suppose you get a little more money for being speaker, but
I don't know. Probably bigger office.
Bigger office.
A little more staff.
Yeah, maybe all those things. I don't know. So tonight at 5:30.
Yeah, 5:30.
Is there going to be a band there? Or
yeah, Chris Carr. He's going to play.
Chris
is play,
good.
Yeah,
Okay.
Chris Carr's going to play a little bit
Very
before.
good. I enjoy
and then
his...
a little bit after, and there'll be a social after. There'll be a short presentation, maybe.
Well, yeah, like
15,
beer and
20
food
minutes.
and stuff?
No,
or?
no beer.
No beer?
Yeah. At least there. Now, if people want to go have beer, they go to Old Boston, Shiny Top, River Hops, any place downtown, have some beer afterwards. I'm sure there'll be.
If you're going to start advertising.
A certain segment of the crowd that'll go to other places.
A certain segment. Huh?
That might go to some other places.
I think I know who the segment is, as a matter of fact.
That's not advertisement. That's community development. That's
community
economic
development.
development.
Community development. That's exactly right.
So yeah, Chris Carr will be performing a bit for it. So it should be really nice. And we're getting decent weather. It could be a little cooler, but at least it's not raining. So.
Oh, it could be cooler.
So it should be outside.
Well, I'll tell you,
A little windy.
the rest of the week's going to be cool.
I know. It's crazy weather. Get up this morning, it's hot, and then it's going to be colder.
Oh, real hot. Muggy. Oh, God. My sump pump's been working overtime with all the rain, but what can you say? So what are some of the things that the city is facing right now? I'm in my news voice now. What are some of the things facing Fort Dodge right now, Mr. City Manager Ferrick? This is Mike Devine in Up to the Minute with Fort Dodge and David Ferrick.
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot. I'm trying to think what's coming up on the agenda for the council meeting. It's 2 weeks off, so there isn't a council meeting this week.
What evil things have you talked the council in now? Stop leading Allstott around by the nose. It's unpleasant.
No, we're not doing that. So there's no council meeting tonight. It's the 5th Monday, and then no council meeting next Monday because it's actually the first Monday. So we got like a 3-week break here, which is kind of nice. This will be back on the second Monday. I don't know exactly if there's anything new coming up. I know we have a third reading on an ordinance that does deal with sanitation, but doesn't take away your favorite spring pastime and junk days.
Right.
So other than that, I don't know if there's anything real big on the agenda I can think of.
Let's go to the phones. AM 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air with Dr. Evil.
Good afternoon. You guys are talking about what's going on with the city?
Yes.
Well, I have a question. In the newspaper, it said the assessor's office is announcing an inspection.
The assessor's office announced that's kind of county business. That's the county assessor.
That's county and city, sir.
Okay, what is your question? I'm sorry.
They're going to have another inspection? Didn't we just have one?
They're going to have another. I believe Angie, the assessor, Angie Vinson, the assessor, was in here last week talking about...
I didn't hear her last week, but I heard her a couple months ago.
Yeah, well, she was here last Wednesday, her and Keith Dinklaw. And I believe they were talking about going out into the countryside a little bit. I think the city is done.
Oh, okay, well, the newspaper clipping and...
There was something in the newspaper this morning about this?
No, it's been a week or two ago. I've been saving it up for you.
Well, I appreciate you saving that for me.
But I just know that Vanguard's appraisals are doing it, and I know they've been around to all the residential.
Yeah.
But they didn't do the county, huh?
I don't believe they've got out in the countryside yet, but they did do Fort Dodge.
Do you have any idea what that costs?
Oh, no, I don't, but I'll ask the county
Angie
people.
didn't tell you, huh?
Well, I don't know if I asked them or not. Maybe.
She wouldn't want to answer that one.
Yeah, well, she probably doesn't. No, the whole idea of this assessment, of course, is to raise your taxes. Of course,
absolutely.
No, nobody's said that. I don't know why people deny the obvious. You know, it's like
well,
the speed cameras,
because
guys.
they say it doesn't, but then the levy changes, and then that increases your taxes.
Yeah, well, you know, that's why would they do it? To lower your taxes? I don't think so. You know?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
Next time she's on, you ask her how much Vanguard charges for this. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think she sounds cynical. I like her.
Just your kind of person.
Just my kind of girl. She's cynical. So really, that's the county, isn't it?
That is the county.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to. I know that what they did hire Vanguard, and it's a multi-year process, and it is quite expensive.
Yeah.
They have a whole group of people that are going into people's houses and just confirming what the value, or kind of making a judgment what the value should be.
Yeah, some guy showed up at my house.
Yeah.
Had his little Vanguard.
Yeah, mine was a year or so ago. They showed up and walked through, and then they determined what the value is going to be. And
right.
I
followed him around my house, kept an eye on him.
Did you?
Oh yeah. I went down the basement with him. Gave him the evil eye. You know what I'm talking about. Gave him the evil eye.
So my wife was at home. I was at work, and she calls me. She goes, "Is this guy for real?" Thought it maybe was. I said, "Yeah." Is he Vanguard? Yes. Yeah, he's for real.
He's for real.
It's a legit thing.
Well, it's Well.
Yeah, but you're right. We're doing like the incorporated areas first, and then doing out in the county.
Right. Go out and sock it to the farmers for a while. They'll roll over for that. Of course, farmland isn't really taxed that high.
Well, it doesn't. I thought the value was determined by productivity, so I don't know what.
Yeah, it is.
So I don't know what a Vanguard guy is going to look at a field and go, "Yep," or I don't know.
I don't. Well, of course, they're going to tax valuable cropland or productive cropland before some wooded.
And then you got properties as well. You got the built properties, the sheds, the houses, and all that.
Sure. So, go on out and tax the hell out of. Let's see, who do I know that lives in the country? Oh, Campbell. Go out and get him. There we go. Keith lives in town, so he's okay. I don't know. Do any other supervisors live out of town? I don't think they do. I think Mark's the only one.
No. Nick Carlson doesn't live in city limits.
Oh, doesn't he?
No, I think
he's a city employee. What is with all your city employees that live outside the city?
He's a firefighter, so he has to live within a
but your
proximity zone.
HR person lives in Manson.
Yeah.
Your expression changed on that
well,
one.
I think she's always lived in Manson. When I started, and she was working before me, she was like the assistant.
She was working here before you.
Yeah,
what was
she was
doing?
the assistant.
She was the assistant HR person?
She was doing assistant in HR and doing human rights. And so that's really, and then we brought in Jim Vollmer from Minnesota to be the,
right.
Actually, I take that back. There really wasn't anybody doing HR. So Jamie was just doing human rights when I started. And then we brought Jim in, and then she also assisted Jim on doing some HR stuff. And then when Jim left to go back to Minnesota, Jamie was appointed the HR director. So we didn't require her to like move in town. We did when Jim moved here. We don't have like a hard and fast policy that said department heads have to live in town, but the soft policy we came up with was like, if we're paying for your moving expenses, you're moving to town.
Right.
So Jim moved to town.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're not making Jamie move to town.
Right. I make her move. No.
Yeah.
We're not paying for her moving expenses because
she doesn't want to move to Fort Dodge. She just wants to work here.
She's happy where she's at. Yeah.
So Supervisor Campbell could actually be mayor of Gowrie then, as well as being supervisor. No, he can't.
No, he can't. He doesn't live in Gowrie. He's going to have to live in Gowrie city limits. I think he lives unincorporated.
Yeah, he does. I know where he lives. Yeah. No, he lives out in the country, and he does. No, he can't be mayor of Gowrie. I don't. It's. I'm sure it's against state law to hold two different public offices, even if it would be mayor of Gowrie and county supervisor. I think.
I don't know.
There was some. This came up some time ago, and it came out that you couldn't hold two offices, which I would be a little surprised. You can't be mayor of Fort Dodge, for example, or a councilman of Fort Dodge, and also be a county supervisor.
Could you be a state legislature and a
I don't think you can. I think you
could
can
in Illinois, because one of the towns I was interning, the mayor was also a state legislator.
I don't think like Ann Meyer or Tim Kreinbrink can hold city office. Anyway, 5:30 tonight down by the city hall.
City Hall.
Well, that'll be nice.
Look for the cool little sculpture up there.
All right. What, cash bar, or are you going to?
I wish.
Not happening. Who's serving? Are there hors d'oeuvres?
There'll be some snacks. Yeah, there'll be some snacks and beverages afterwards. Cookies and
that'll be nice.
Punch and water and stuff.
Yeah, I had a big meal out at Rotary today, but I got a way big meal. I'm
big
still
meal.
Full.
That was good. Lasagna and
some kind of it was sponge cake and whipped cream, and I couldn't have the cherries because I'm allergic to red dye. But anyway,
Willow Ridge does a good job.
Yeah,
good
they
food.
do. I didn't realize that I didn't realize I was that hungry, and then I overate. But anyway, that's another story. David Ferrick's been our guest. Thank you, David.
You're welcome, Mike.
I mean,
Thank
unless you have a final thought here. I don't want to cut you off in case you want to say
that's
something.
fine.
You're good. All right.
All right.
David Ferrick's been our guest. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Exactly 4:30. The news is next.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The Fort Dodge Community School District has released an update regarding the online threat posted on Indeed over the weekend. The district's Director of Communications and Community Relations, Jennifer Lane, said that the district was taking the threat seriously, as they take any and all threats seriously, and have implemented increased precautionary measures, such as having resource officers increase their patrols and coordinating with local police to increase their presence and patrols in the school areas. In a statement released earlier today, the district said that the Fort Dodge Police Department does not believe that the threat is credible and is still investigating the matter. Fort Dodge Fire Rescue will be having their Red Line Run this Sunday, October 6th at Kennedy Park. The event is in honor of Kelvin Brown, who passed away due to cancer. Fort Dodge firefighter Megan Spears is one of the organizers of the event. Here's her comments on the legacy of Kelvin Brown.
We just really wanted to honor somebody so small but had so much impact on so many people.
The event will be a 5K run and walk. It will begin at 1 p.m. Sunday at Kennedy Park. The entry fee is $25 and will include lunch. You can register the day of the event between 11:30 and 12:45, or you can pre-register by emailing Megan Spears at mspears@fortdodgeiowa.org. The Artist Warehouse, located at the Crossroads Mall here in Fort Dodge, will be hosting their inaugural Teen Ladies and Women Empowerment Gathering this Saturday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The purpose of the event is to inspire culture and diversity for women in the area. The event will feature guest speakers who are local business women here in Fort Dodge, along with vocal performances and poetry reading. Formal attire is the dress code, and there will be food and dessert. Tickets are $5 and can be purchased at Artist Warehouse and the Wellness Project Fort Dodge. In sports, the Iowa Central Tritons fell at Highland in Kansas over the weekend, 20-14. Highland would score twice in the first quarter, taking a 14-0 lead. The Tritons would score in the second quarter on a Kurt Taylor touchdown run of 75 yards. Taylor would finish with 215 rushing yards on 33 carries and a touchdown. Iowa Central would then tie the game at 14 with under 5 minutes left, but Highland would answer, scoring the go-ahead touchdown on a 42-yard touchdown pass with 2 minutes left, and would hold on to win it 20-14. Iowa Central will be back in action this Saturday, their homecoming game, hosting Garden City for a noon kickoff. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 89 degrees outside. Wow. But it'll get cooler as the week goes on. We should be at our day's high right now. Overnight, some showers and thunderstorms. Tomorrow, showers and thunderstorms. Some pretty heavy thunderstorms, as a matter of fact. Our high will be 67 on Wednesday. Again, thunderstorms with a high of 61. Thursday, sunny with a high of only 56. Friday, sunny with a high of 60. Saturday, some rain again, mostly cloudy, high 62. On Sunday, sunny with a high of 62 degrees. Right now, it's hot and humid, 89 degrees. Obituaries this hour brought to us by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South here in Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. Mr. Rudy Engstrom of Lake City has died at the age of 95. Mr. Engstrom passed away on Saturday at Stewart Memorial Community Hospital in Lake City. There will be a funeral service for Mr. Rudy Engstrom, and that'll be held at 10:30 in the morning on Thursday at Pilgrim Lutheran Church, Lake City. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
From the Fox Business Network, on Wall Street, stocks ending the month and third quarter on a positive note on easing trade tensions, led by tech gains, with Apple leading the charge. The S&P 500 will now enter the fourth quarter with its biggest year-to-date gain in more than 2 decades. With the Dow rising 97 points, the Nasdaq up 60, S&P 500 up 15. And shares of recreational vehicle manufacturer Thor Industries soaring and rising nearly 16% today after the Airstream trailer maker reported a better-than-expected fourth quarter profit as sales grew from a recent European acquisition, giving the U.S. company an entrance abroad. And following a botched IPO attempt and the ouster of its CEO, WeWork is shelving its plans to go public for now. The office-sharing company said it's making the move to focus on its core business and that it has every intention to operate WeWork as a public company. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%, APR 4.08%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. Pay 1.25% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
You're invited to a down-home Christmas with the Oak Ridge Boys at Wild Rose Casino and Resort, Jefferson.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
Don't miss this special engagement Monday, November 18th, as the Oak Ridge Boys perform all their classics and cuts from their brand new Christmas album, Down Home Christmas. Tickets on sale now by visiting wildroseresorts.com. The Oak Ridge Boys, November 18th at Wild Rose Casino and Resort, Jefferson.
Wi-Fi is spelled W-I-F-I. Unfortunately for many people, it also spells TMI, as in too much information. Because Wi-Fi, whether public or right in your own home, even if it's password protected, isn't always private. Cybercriminals can use Wi-Fi to steal information you send and receive while online. To put a stop to TMI on Wi-Fi, you need Norton Secure VPN. That's Norton Secure Virtual Private Network. Bank-grade encryption to help keep your personal information and online behavior private from hackers every time you're connected. Don't let Wi-Fi mean TMI. Go to norton.com/VPN. Norton Secure VPN starts at less than $4 a month with annual subscription. Terms apply.
Some conventional farmers are managing weeds like organic farmers to build soil health. Hello, I'm Larry Lee with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. Sandy Seiberg of Purple Cow Organics says he's seen more interest from conventional farmers in water-soluble calcium to reduce chemical use and trips across the field. We'll hear from him next on Managing for Profit.
They say to really know a man, you have to walk a mile in his boots. Well, my channel Seedsman has logged more miles than I can count in mine. Every spring, we hit my fields together at the first sight of green. 6 weeks later, he's out here again, checking roots, stalks, soil like they were his own. As crops grow, so does his commitment to making sure there's nothing overlooked. Nutrients, weed control, pests, disease. He gets an agronomist to weigh in whenever we need a second opinion. The whole time using the latest technology to document where we've been and decide where we're going. Wheels always turning. And come harvest, we celebrate in the cab. Him working away, making plans for next season. That, my friends, is what they call seedsmanship at work. Look, anybody can sell you seed. Only a Channel Seedsman gives you everything you need to make the most of it. Find yours at channel.com/boots. Always read and follow grain marketing and all of their stewardship practices.
Extension is online at yourfortdodge.com. On Twitter at JMike1400.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and of course, we're going to tell the truth, make it matter, and never be boring. Joining me again today in that effort is Dr. Dean Stanzel of Southern Methodist University. Dr. Stanzel is an economist. How are you, Dean?
I'm doing great, Michael. How are you?
Dr. Stanzel is with the O'Neill Center. Please explain the O'Neill Center.
Oh, sure thing. The O'Neill Center for Global Markets and Freedom is in the Cox Business School at SMU in Dallas, and it was set up by one of our alums, William O'Neill, who is the founder of Investors Business Daily newspaper. We study the impact of competitive market forces on freedom and prosperity in the global economy, and our website is o'neillcenter.org. That's ONEIL.
Now, Dr. Stanzel, not surprisingly, is a libertarian. Dr. Stanzel's been on the show for many years, and those of you who listen regularly, you know that. If you don't listen regularly, what's the matter with you? That's all I have to say. But somebody hit Dr. Stanzel's hot button over the weekend, I'll tell you, because he sent me a lot of things to look at today, and that's fine. Mainly focusing on Elizabeth Warren, not a libertarian, not at all. She could very well be the Democratic Party nominee. And what kills me about Elizabeth Warren being the Democratic Party nominee is that there are very wealthy financiers on Wall Street who contribute to the Democratic Party. Some of them do because they share the Democratic Party's secular view on social issues, but mainly they do so just to kind of cover all their bases. They want to be on board with the Democrats if the Democrats are in power, and on board with the Republicans and so forth. But they have come out very strongly from a recent report at CNBC that if Elizabeth Warren's the nominee, they either won't contribute to the Democratic Party or they will sit at home, or even back Trump, which blows the Democrats' minds, trust me on this. And I guess what they're talking about is a tax on wealth. Now, Dr. Stanzel has sent me an article from National Review, which certainly is a conservative magazine, but it's not a crazy magazine at all. I've been a subscriber off and on for 40 years, maybe more than that. But there is an article in National Review Dr. Stanzel has sent me. It's called A Tax on Wealth. It's Wealth Tax Trap is what it's called, Elizabeth Warren's Wealth Tax Trap. So let's talk a little bit about this. Obviously, if you have a lot of money and you're on Wall Street, you're opposed. What else is wrong with this?
There's a whole lot wrong with it. Just to be clear on the details, though, and Bernie Sanders came out with a relatively similar plan shortly thereafter. But what it would do is it would put a tax on net worth of $50 million or more. You would pay an annual tax of 2% on every dollar above that $50 million level of net worth, and then it would be 3%. It would be graduated like our federal income tax, 3% on every dollar above $1 billion. And so, we're not talking about something that's probably going to hit you or me or maybe any of your listeners, but
not me.
But it's a problem. And one piece of evidence on why it's a problem is you look at what other countries have done. There used to be a host of countries with this, and they have, over in Europe especially, and they've gradually gotten rid of it. In fact, France got rid of theirs just recently. And if the French think it's a bad idea, it doesn't necessarily mean it is, but it may be time to give us some pause as to what might be going on here. I mean, it's really the deeper implications of the unintended consequences of this, or perhaps they're intended, but it seems to be based on this notion that this wealth is just being kind of spent on conspicuous consumption, and it's not actually being used for investment that helps increase economic opportunity for everyone, not just Richie Rich smoking cigars somewhere.
Are you sure about that, Dr. Stanzel? Because there's plenty of conspicuous consumption going on, and you probably know that up to 40% of the jobs that we do today will be gone in 5 years, because mainly of technology and things like that. So it appears that the reinvestment is going toward that end, going toward the end of getting rid of labor. And if we get rid of labor too soon, or we don't retrain our population, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, you've opened up a huge can of worms with the automation thing, and I don't know where the 40% is coming from, but I don't believe that's true.
The Wall Street Journal.
No one can predict the future, and there's been widespread concern about automation for centuries, really. And if we didn't have automation, we'd still be using hand, farm implements. and we'd still have 25% of our population or whatever the number was working in agriculture instead of the low percentage it is now, and we'd be poorer for that. So no, I'm with you. There's a concern there, and I don't think taxing individuals' wealth is going to fix that concern, though. I don't see how that would help, honestly.
You always have to remember who you're talking to here, Dean. Now, big farms aren't all that popular in Iowa, even though we have plenty of them. We have plenty of them now.
Sure, but big or small, do you really want to be doing everything by hand? I mean, it's enormously more expensive. And it's not good for consumers, certainly, but I don't see how that would be good.
No, I don't care to plow with horses, if that's what you mean, Doctor.
There you go.
I want to compliment you on when you started this piece. I was just afraid that you were going to start talking about Venezuela. Oh, if we have a tax on billionaires, we're going to be Venezuela. I was watching Fox Business News this morning, and Maria Bartiromo, who was usually very level-headed, was talking about Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders said we need to get rid of billionaires altogether, which I thought was a little extreme. And Maria Bartiromo said, well, if we do that, all the billionaires will go to China and Russia. I about fell over. What? A bunch of capitalist billionaires are going to go to Moscow and China? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. But you're right that it's not just Elizabeth Warren on this. This is a big part of Bernie Sanders' appeal to some of those who like him, is that and the whole idea, get rid of billionaires. What does that really mean? You're not going to actually make the people leave. You might encourage them to leave. In fact, that's one of the drawbacks that led these European countries to get rid of these, is that the people just move, right? Because a lot of that, or the wealth itself moves, right? This tax on wealth is a lot of that wealth is mobile, and so
it's mobile now, definitely.
And so you end up not taking in nearly as much revenue as you think you're going to, which once you start kind of doing that cost-benefit trade-off, it's like, okay, so we're not getting all this revenue we thought we were going to get. We're having people flee the country and wealth flee the country. There's all sorts of problems also with evasion of the tax and with new loopholes being carved out, because let's face it, people, once the thing's in place, it's going to start getting the base of the tax base is going to start getting eroded by people making appeals for leaving this or that out. And think about what was the thing?
That's why we have tax lawyers and CPAs.
But think about the value of the wealth of farmland, right? I mean, that's wealth, right? This isn't just we're not talking about just stocks and bonds. We're talking about property, and so there will be a huge incentive if the farming part, if the agricultural property gets carved out, for people to all of a sudden start buying up farmland or turning things into farmland. And what does that do to the industry? I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff that I think is being ignored in terms of the kind of the naivety of the proposals here.
Dr. Dean Stansel is our guest. He's an economist with Southern Methodist University, a regular contributor to the program here at AM 1400, KVFD. Bernie Sanders, as you alluded to, has a wealth tax. Sanders and Warren, some want to see them on the same ticket. And I loved Representative Al Green, by the way, of Texas, who has said over the weekend, we have to impeach Trump because he'll be reelected if we don't.
You can't beat him.
You can't beat him. Better impeach him. That's all there is to it. Let's switch to climate change.
Okay, one last thing on this, though.
Yes.
So just I want to make sure that folks understand the important. One of the reasons the European countries are moving away from this is that all of this, a lot of this money that is held in wealth of the wealthy people that would be targeted by this is used to fund things like research and development that help create better goods and services for consumers. It's used as capital for producers to borrow and enable them to expand their businesses and hire new people. It's not just about saying, well, you shouldn't redistribute the income, you shouldn't tax it away and give it to these other people. It's more. There's more to it than that, because it's not just harming the people you directly take it from, but there are all these indirect effects that would really slow the growth of our economy and to the detriment of everyone.
Well, as a patriot, I'm a little concerned about the consumers having a job to buy something in the first place, or are we planning on just moving most of our retail business and our consumerist attitudes to China?
Well, sure, but if businesses aren't expanding, then the number of jobs isn't going to be expanding either. So taxing away the wealthiest, the money from the wealthiest, isn't going to necessarily change that. I wouldn't think.
Okay, let's go to climate change. We recently had this angry-looking young girl in our country, Greta something or other, and I am reminded once again that in the early 2000s, Al Gore, having lost the presidential race, apparently decided to become a documentary film producer, and he put out a movie called The Inconvenient Truth on Climate Change. It won an Oscar, no less. The only problem with The Inconvenient Truth 15 years later is practically none of the claims that he made in that film have come true. As a matter of fact, quite the opposite. So here we are again in 2019. Climate change is very confusing because we have things like this. An article Dr. Stanzel sent me back in the 60s, some scientists believed that by 1975 the human race would perish through famine caused by climate change. The human race is 7.5 billion now. So none of these things, none of these hysterical predictions have come to be the truth. Now here we are in 2019, and we seem to be heading towards some sort of breaking point. I don't know. The Democratic Party has made it their cause du jour. And somebody out here in Texas or Iowa or Kansas, we still don't know if we have a lot to worry about or not. I mean, well, experts say. Well, I've heard experts say a lot of things.
Yeah. The inconvenient truth of Al Gore's movie is that it's inconveniently untrue, I guess.
Yeah, inconveniently untrue.
But the other thing about the predictions in addition to the predictions of famine, in the 70s, there was actually a time where scientists were saying we're entering a new ice age, which is, of course, the exact opposite of what they're saying now, and really have been saying since for a couple decades. But another thing that was said from basically the beginning of the environmentalist movement in the late 60s, early 70s is that we're going to run out of oil, right? And they had specific predictions on it 20 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, somewhere in that neighborhood. It hasn't happened. We've well passed that initial prediction, and so I just think that we ought to be a little more cautiously skeptical of what people are saying, and when everyone's saying the same thing, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. It's not to say that there isn't something going on here to be concerned about, but before we go, hightailing it down the road towards the Green New Deal, we probably ought to think it through a little more and think about some of the offsetting costs of some of these proposals, which really can in a sense do the exact opposite of what we're trying to do. I mean, the biggest polluters aren't consumers here in the U.S. It's China and other developing countries for which a clean environment is kind of a luxury good, right? And so the best way we can help to improve the overall environment of the globe is to do things that help these developing countries become richer, so they can afford to do the things that are cleaner, the cleaner ways to produce things and consume things.
Well, some of you remember Dr. Stanzel when he started with us here, was in his native Florida, and he was at Florida Gulf Coast University. He's in Texas now, of course, at SMU, and some of these regulations in the state of Texas alone would cost a loss of 1 million jobs. Now, that's just in Texas. Now, Texas is still kind of a red state, and I'm going to take just a minute here, Dr. Stanzel, excuse me. But a number of years ago, if you recall, mainly Democratic attorney generals in states around the country began to sue the tobacco companies. Now, most of the tobacco companies were in southern states, and they contributed heavily to the Republican Party. So don't think for a second that the lawyer class, most of them, a lot of them in California, weren't aware of the fact that in the Congress people of the Democratic Party were certainly aware of the fact that they were striking a real blow to an income source of the Republican Party. So they certainly pressed that. And let's not forget that when we start talking about climate change, because where are most of the oil-producing states? That would be right, in the Gulf, right? Louisiana, Texas, all those places. So part of this hysteria is directed at a funding source for the Republican Party. The Democrats will have you believe that they are Jesus and the 12 apostles, but for God's sake. Anyway, let's talk about cronyism, because that's a big thing right now. This is one of the great unsung things in politics, is that if you really want to get over, be a politician's kid. Hunter Biden, get a job. You know, your dad gets you a gig at $50,000 a month. Good God! Well, but they're hardly the only ones. I mean, Joe Biden is not exactly the only one. Nancy Pelosi's kids, by the way, check them out. Nancy Pelosi, who has a wall around her house. I love this. The hypocrisy is staggering. But I'm trying to give you an out here because you want to talk about farm bailouts, and I would remind you who the hell you're talking to again.
I thought you'd enjoy that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, trying to get me in trouble, huh?
We could keep talking about the environment.
Yeah, we probably should. Anyway, I've opened the door now.
Yes, you have. So the this piece by Vera DeRugi in Reason's blog, I believe it's from, talks about how, excuse me, there was a guy at the American Enterprise Institute complaining that people who cared about cronyism and were complaining about it back when Obama was in office are suddenly very quiet about all the stuff going on with for instance, Donald Trump's bailout of the farmers, which to put that in context, why did he need to bail out the farmers? Well, because he had just engaged in a little bit of cronyist protectionist legislation for the steel industry and the aluminum industry, and the Chinese and the Mexicans and people in other countries didn't like that, and they retaliated with hitting us where they knew it would hurt with taxes on our agricultural exports. But there was an interesting number in here that so there were 2 agriculture bailouts over the past 2 years, totaling $28 billion so far. And for perspective, that's more than twice as expensive as the 2009 bailout of Detroit's big 3 automakers. That was only $12 billion. So that of course this piece is kind of pointing out some hypocrisy. The Republicans were outraged about bailing out the big 3 automakers, and now it's pretty much crickets on this other one.
I guess I do. And I shouldn't have got away from. I shouldn't have got away from the climate change thing so quickly. We just have a minute or two left. I want to address what's really behind climate change, and you believe it's socialism.
So there was a piece that I saw in Real Clear Politics that was actually written by this Swedish girl. It's a high school girl or whatever. This was written by a homeschooled 17-year-old student here in Texas. And yeah, I mean, I think that the important thing to keep in mind here is that the solutions being put out there would fundamentally change the nature of our economy in a way that would restrict our freedom and would therefore restrict the growth of the economy, the growth of our prosperity. It's going to make us poorer, right? And of course, there's a trade-off on these things, right? If we don't want to die in a fiery furnace.
No, I wouldn't care to.
But we also need to be, I think, a little more conscious of the cost of the sort of solutions we're putting out there. And if you just look at what happened in New York at this climate summit last week that this Swedish girl attended, these guys couldn't get on the same page about much of anything, in part because the costs are really high. And for the poorest countries, where the ones that are polluting the most, they just simply can't afford it. And there's what we call a collective action problem. They don't want to go first, and we don't want to go first. Trump didn't even show up. So yeah, there's a real problem here in terms of getting people on the same page as to what we need to do.
Well, the climate change activists always say they believe American leadership will change the climate crisis, and I think, who in the hell, with India, China, these countries who are big polluters, they're going to look at us and say, wow, we better get on board with what the United States is doing. It's insanity. It's just plain insanity. I mean, maybe there is a climate problem. I don't know. If there wouldn't be so much lying about it, maybe the American public would have taken it a little more seriously. But for God's sake, I mean, really, all we have to do is do something, and the rest of the world follows along. Okay, I'm all about that. Dr. Dean Stansel has been our guest, and he is
I remember
economist from Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. Dean, thank you.
Yep, thanks for having me on.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. All right, that was terrific. Dr. Dean Stanzel, from SMU. It's always great to have Dean on the air. I want to thank Caress Bjorklund for being here today. I want to thank David Fierick, and I want to thank you for being here as well. It's 4:59. The news is next. Hope to talk to you tomorrow right here at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
For exciting Panther sports, keep it right here on your home for University of Northern Iowa sports in North Central Iowa. The voice of Fort Dodge, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Called before Congress. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. One of President Trump's personal attorneys now must appear before lawmakers as they continue to move forward with their impeachment inquiry.
They are subpoenaing information from Rudolph Giuliani and also closed-door depositions before the 15th of October from some of his associates. And one of the most important things this week is we're going to hear from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi in a press conference the middle of the week on Wednesday. She usually doesn't have a press conference in the middle of a recess, but that will be different this week. The other big thing goes on away from Capitol Hill, where some of these freshman Democrats in districts that favor President Trump are going to start having town hall meetings. I would look at Kendra Horn in Oklahoma, one tonight, Susan Wild tomorrow in Pennsylvania, Max Rose in New York City.
Fox's Chad Pergam at the Capitol. Friday, the same committee subpoenaed Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, a U.S. citizen accused of spying for the Chinese government. Fox's Gernal Scott has more live.
Lisa, federal attorneys say Shu Hua Pong, posing as a tour operator, transferred American security secrets to China. Prosecutors say the crime is not connected to an ongoing U.S.-China trade war. U.S. Attorney Dave Anderson says Pong acted as an unregistered secret agent, securing information from a double agent. It was then
he flew to Beijing, China, to meet with his MS handlers and to deliver the classified information.
And was paid handsomely to do it.
In the amounts of $10,000 and $20,000 at a time.
Pong, a naturalized citizen, faces 10 years in prison if he's convicted, Lisa.
Gernal, the family of opera great Jessie Norman has announced she has died from multiple organ failure related to a spinal cord injury she sustained in 2015. She was 74. Wall Street at the close, the Dow gained 96, the NASDAQ added 59, the S&P plus 14. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. I've got great news. Mortgage interest rates have dropped. So if you're thinking about buying a home, right now is the time to lock that low rate, even before you find the home of your dreams. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The Fort Dodge Community School District has released an update regarding the online threat posted on Indeed over the weekend. The district's Director of Communications and Community Relations, Jennifer Lane, said that the district was taking the threat seriously, as they take any and all threats seriously, and have implemented increased precautionary measures, such as having resource officers increase their patrols and coordinating with local police to increase their presence and patrols in the school areas. In a statement released earlier today, the district said that the Fort Dodge Police Department does not believe that the threat is credible and is still investigating the matter. Fort Dodge Fire Rescue will be having their Red Line Run this Sunday, October 6th at Kennedy Park. The event is in honor of Kelvin Brown, who passed away due to cancer. Fort Dodge firefighter Megan Spears is one of the organizers of the event. Here's her comments on the legacy of Kelvin Brown.
We just really wanted to honor somebody so small but had so much impact on so many people.
The event will be a 5K run and walk. It will begin at 1 p.m. Sunday at Kennedy Park. The entry fee is $25 and will include lunch. You can register the day of the event between 11:30 and 12:45, or you can pre-register by emailing Megan Spears at mspears@fortdodgeiowa.org. The Artist Warehouse, located at the Crossroads Mall here in Fort Dodge, will be hosting their inaugural Teen Ladies and Women Empowerment Gathering this Saturday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The purpose of the event is to inspire culture and diversity for women in the area. The event will feature guest speakers who are local businesswomen here in Fort Dodge, along with vocal performances and poetry reading. Formal attire is the dress code, and there will be food and dessert. Tickets are $5 and can be purchased at Artist Warehouse and the Wellness Project Fort Dodge. In sports, the Iowa Central Tritons fell at Highland in Kansas over the weekend, 20-14. Highland would score twice in the first quarter, taking a 14-0 lead. The Tritons would score in the second quarter on a Kurt Taylor touchdown run of 75 yards. Taylor would finish with 215 rushing yards on 33 carries and a touchdown. Iowa Central would then tie the game at 14 with under 5 minutes left, but Highland would answer, scoring the go-ahead touchdown on a 42-yard touchdown pass with 2 minutes left.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studios, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. Thank you for joining us, America. It's a free call at 888-825-5225. That's 888-825-5225. Bianca is with us in New Mexico. Hey, Bianca, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Better than I deserve. What's up?
So my husband and I, we're in the middle of baby step number 2. We just finished paying off $13,000 to our active debt, and now we're looking at $20,000 in collections.
Okay.
My question is, how do I go about this? Do I list it smallest to largest? What do I need to tackle first?
It's a little bit complicated, but I think let me walk you through what I suggest you do, and let's see if we can get there together, okay? So you don't have any active debt at all. You're not paying payments on any of these collections.
No.
Good. All right. And how old are the collections?
The oldest is about 9 years.
And the youngest?
It's taxes, so it's current. It's probably, I don't know, about a year.
Taxes like IRS?
Yeah. Well, it's not the IRS, it's the state tax.
And how much is it?
$800.
Okay, pay that one.
Okay.
Then we'll move on. We do not deal with the government, okay? They got a lot of power, and their fees and their interest rates are ridiculous. So just get that one done. Now we'll move on to the rest of them. So the others are, what's the next youngest one?
That's probably it. The other ones were probably all done within the same time. Maybe
all 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah.
And what kind of debt are they?
So there's phone bills, there's one credit card, and then there's 2 repossessed cars.
Okay. All right. So the bulk of this is the repos.
Yes.
Okay. Repos will take somewhere around 10 to 15 cents on the dollar, especially if they're that old.
Okay.
Okay. So